in Gainesville as Florida getting ready for Missouri. The Gators, of course, have been off the last 2 weekends. They have not played in 3 weeks. They've got a Missouri team that comes in confident. They're balanced offensively. They're creative offensively. CD, from a Florida perspective, where would you be concerned the most about Mizzou?
Well, I'm already concerned about my defense if I'm a Florida fan. They've been miserable in the first portion of the season. Now you haven't been able to be together for much of the last couple weeks. You're going up against a Missouri offense that does a lot in terms of creating strain on a defense. And so I don't think the people that haven't been watching Missouri, Connor Bazelak's one of the better quarterbacks in this league, so Florida needs to be aware of him tonight.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And again, you know, you look at this offense from Missouri, you talk about a lot of confidence now. I mean, Roundtree and Beatty, those guys present some problems. But you know what? Florida's got some dudes of their own, right? Kadarius Toney. It's going to be interesting, CD, coming off of this much of a layoff. Has this affected the rhythm and the chemistry that the offense
timing, yeah,
since the A&M game? It's been a while. And look, Florida was very productive and they hadn't missed a beat up until that point. But 3 weeks later, and lion's share of those 3 weeks, you're not even together. So to me, chemistry, balance, it's going to be interesting to see what the Florida offense looks like.
I'm going to let you talk about this guy because I know how much you love Nick Bolton. I mean, he's one of the best linebackers in this conference, and a lot of people don't necessarily know his name. He doesn't get the credit he deserves.
Well, they'll know his name today if you don't know him, because I'm going to tell you what this guy does. He loves playing the game. This is one of the guys that is kind of like that Saturday game day gladiator, right? No matter what happens, I've seen him play with knockdown shoulders. I've seen him beat up. I've seen him tired. He never wants to come off the field, and he's always productive. He's sideline to sideline, even though he's a 6 foot, 230-pound guy that's really stout from tackle to tackle. But this guy will try to absolutely knock you out, and I love watching him play backer.
There's the guy I told you about a little bit earlier. Since taking over the reins of this offense in that Tennessee game, he's brought a spark, right? He brings a little something different. For a redshirt freshman that hadn't played a lot before this season, he plays with tremendous poise. Eli Drinkwitz has used him in the quarterback run game. He's got a tremendous arm, throws with great accuracy, and he's starting to develop a little bit more consistency with those receivers. Early in the season, the Missouri wide receivers were dropping a lot of passes. Over the last couple of weeks, they seem to have developed a little bit more consistency catching the football, and I'm sure a lot of that has to do with Bazelak's accuracy.
Yeah, and again, you talk about guys developing on the offense. Jalen Knox is a receiver that they need to get more production out of. He's gotten better. I think he's gotten healthier. And he's found an array of different receivers, some of them who we hadn't heard of, Towski Dove and some other guys. But this is a guy they've been counting on, CD, from the beginning of the year, a guy that showed up as a freshman, true freshman. We saw some production then. He's a guy that has talent. He's got speed. He's got talent. And, again, I think you're going to see Bazelak look for him a little bit more in the pass game today.
So this game coming up a few minutes from now on the alternate network. On the main SEC network, you got another good one. Isaiah Spiller and A&M against Arkansas. We talked last night about the ability of them to run the ball with Spiller and Anaya Smith. How important will that be against the Razorbacks?
It'll be largely important. I mean, I think this is who they are nowadays. They're a run-first team. That's what Jimbo Fisher wants to do. That's what he's always done. They put a little bit of an emphasis on being more physical. Implementation of a tight end, implementation of a fullback. I mean, right now you're looking at one of the best duos in the conference when it comes to Spiller and Smith. And I think the benefit that they've been able to have here recently has come from the consistency of the offensive line. That second half against Florida, they completely dominated the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, speaking of dominating, look at this guy. I mean, we saw him start last year as a true freshman. Kind of came out of nowhere, right? A big 6'5", 250-pound tight end. But you know what, CD? He runs routes a lot of times like a wideout. He's just got sure hands. He's got a great catch radius. And he does the dirty work on the inside, too. He's a big body guy that's getting better and better as the season goes on. But he does do the dirty work as a big tight end. He's a guy that Jimbo loves to use in the offense. And if you look, Jimbo probably uses the tight ends as good or better than anybody in the league.
How about the ability of this dude to make a catch? Sophomore Traylon Burks.
How about the catch? What was that, two games ago or 2 weeks ago?
You said it looked like it was going into the seats.
Yeah, reached up with the one hand, snagged it in securely. I mean, they've got some talent on this offense. The guy that I'm waiting to see come back and play at the high level is Rakeem Boyd.
Yeah.
You know?
Imagine if they had a steady dose of 180 yards a game, 150 yards a game on the ground.
Yeah, and I want to make sure we point out, too, Felipe Franks, what he's done, we watched him a lot at Florida, not be consistent in turning the ball over, peaks and valleys. He's been very consistent. And this is a guy we just talked about, Chiz. We want to see him get back to looking like he has the last couple years in our league.
Yeah, and again, you look at this offense, and they've been able to run the ball pretty good without him, right? So now, you know, if Rakeem comes back and he's healthy, I mean, now you have two tailbacks that possibly, you know, between Traylon Smith and him, now you could perhaps have that duo or that tandem of running backs that, man, you don't know who to defend, right? And it's kind of like what A&M has, but we know this guy's got talent. We know he runs the ball well. He's got great vision, so it's going to be fun to see if he's back healthy.
Let's update now. Alabama, Mac Jones. I know you want to see who it is. Oh, boy, Devontae Smith.
Didn't drop that one.
Did not drop that one. If we're keeping track, and we are, career touchdown catch number 28, 3 shy of the all-time career record held by Amari Cooper and Chris Doering.
Getting close.
Yeah.
Get nervous?
Look over your shoulder. He's right there, my friend. All right, 2 games. We'll split you up. Enjoy it. We'll see you at halftime.
And we welcome you inside the swamp on a rather muggy Halloween night. Happy Halloween, everybody. Florida Gators hope it's a happy Halloween, back at home and back in action for the first time in 3 weeks. They take on the Missouri Tigers, coming off 2 large victories in a row. Great to be with you, Mike Morgan, Hudson Mason, Taylor Davis, coming to you from the swamp on Halloween night. And for the Florida Gators, it's the first time they've been on the gridiron in 3 weeks, as if that's not unusual enough. You take a look at the timeline, you got to go back to the last game on October the 10th, the heartbreaking loss at Kyle Field in College Station, Texas. Then the news got worse. Multiple COVID tests would pause football activities. Games had to be rescheduled. Dan Mullen, the head coach, testing positive as well. And that would mean they'd go 2 weeks without football activities in Gainesville. So Hudson Mason, it's tough enough to go 3 weeks without a game, but to go 2 weeks without practice in preparation for a game, this is uncharted territory.
Mike, in all my years of playing and watching football, I've never seen a scenario like what the Gators are fighting through right here. Not only did they not play for 2 weeks, like you said, they didn't practice, they didn't meet, they weren't in the building for 2 weeks. So the question becomes, how quickly can they knock off that rust and get back to the level of play that they were at 3 weeks ago?
One guy who did not show any rust when he was playing is Kyle Trask, who's putting up record numbers so far.
Absolutely record numbers, and he's playing the position at a high level. He's the X factor for how quickly this offense picks up where it left off. But Dan Mullen has peace of mind for how he's thrived, and because of how he's thrived in non-ideal scenarios like this before, last year versus Kentucky when Felipe Franks went down, and then 2 years ago right here in the swamp against this same exact Missouri team.
14 touchdowns, just 1 pick for Trask, the senior, in his 14th start tonight. Meanwhile, a redshirt freshman who a lot of people didn't even think would see action this year, Connor Bazelak, making noise early on.
Yeah, Connor had his coming out party a couple weeks ago in this game right here versus LSU. 400 passing yards in the air for 4 touchdowns, completing 70% of his passes. But Mike, he's got to play smart tonight more than he does heroically. He's got to have a plan versus the pressure like he did last week. He went 4 for 5 versus the blitz because Todd Grantham is exotic. He's complicated on 3rd down, and he's going to show this young quarterback a lot of different looks. He's got to know his answers and his hots and have a plan versus the pressure.
Connor Bazelak might be licking his chops to face this beleaguered Florida defense. And for more on that defense, even more short-handed than we thought, here's the 3rd member of our broadcast team, Taylor Davis.
Yeah, guys, like you mentioned, Florida returns to gameplay for the first time since October 10th following this COVID-19 outbreak, but they're still dealing with the implications from that. Tonight, they will be without more than a dozen players, including starting defensive backs Marco Wilson, Sean Davis, and Donovan Steiner. They'll also be without kicker Evan McPherson. So really pivotal losses for this Florida team, specifically on the defensive side of the ball. Head coach Dan Mullen tells me the game plan has been adjusted based on personnel as well as handling endurance limitations after 2 weeks of no practice.
Taylor, that is great stuff, but it is bad news for Florida fans. That is a defense beleaguered, surrendering 33 points a game already. We'll see how they come out with a number of changes in that secondary. As we'll get our first look at the Missouri offense and the freshman quarterback, Connor Bazelak out of Dayton, Ohio, just 2 hours from Lexington, Kentucky. It was UK that gave him his first scholarship offer, but he decided he wanted to go to Mizzou. He already had a relationship with the new head coach, Eli Drinkwitz, wanted to play in the SEC, and here he is making his mark already. Bazelak joined in the backfield by Larry Roundtree, who's having a career year and coming off a 37-carry performance in the win over Kentucky. Bazelak with a clean pocket on first down, delivers a strike, but in and out of the hands of Damon Hazelton, the former Va-Tech Hokie. It was Jaden Hill on the coverage.
Well, Jaden Hill on the very first play, they go after the new young corner, the sophomore from Huntsville, Alabama. In the secondary, replacing Marco Wilson, and the quick game is really what's going to be the thing tonight for this Missouri offense, like they did last week versus Kentucky, getting the ball out of the young quarterback's hands quickly.
As if the news could not get worse, now a Florida defensive lineman, Brenton Cox, is shaken up on the play. They are down to 10 total defensive backs. That includes walk-ons, that includes everybody. You've got 3 starters out. You've got your starting kicker, who's got the potential to be an All-American. He's out of this ball game. And this was a defense that was already surrendering 33 yards a game and has been under the microscope, Hudson, heavily criticized because last year everything was good. Under Todd Grantham, a top 10 defense in the nation, but not so far this year. As we take a look at what happened to Brenton Cox, a good sign as he is up and okay.
That's a great sign. What you're going to see here on the replay is just a cut block by the left tackle. Good clean play, trying to get Brenton Cox's hands down because it's a quick pass and nothing dirty, nothing illegal. Brenton Cox looks all right as he walks off the field after that scary injury there for Florida fans.
Missouri has had their own issues, not COVID related, on the offensive line. 3 new starters this week for Mizzou. On second down, it's Roundtree trying to push the pile on the right side. Squeezes out a yard, but not much doing for the senior out of Raleigh, North Carolina.
It's a guy in Larry Roundtree who had 37 carries last week against Kentucky. That was more carries than Kentucky had offensive plays, and some mismatch going on up there on the offensive line as Kyrie Campbell comes back internally for the Gators. This is the 3rd down position, 3rd and long already in the first drive that Missouri didn't want to live in.
Missouri has been good on 3rd down this year, 48%, but a penalty flag drops.
I think it's going to be 12 men on the field on the Gators, illegal substitution.
And that'll go against Missouri, and it'll back up the Tigers. This has been a problem spot for the Gator defense all year long. On the so-called money downs, 3rd and 4th down, they are giving up 61% of the time the opponents convert. So here we have our first 3rd down. You see on 3rd down alone, 59, that's dead last in the league. They've also been really vulnerable on 4th down as well. As we have yet another penalty flag.
The defense, number 17, 5-yard penalty, 3rd down.
Zachary Carter in the giving mood gives Missouri those 5 yards right back.
Connor Bazelak, smart of him there to kind of manipulate the snap count. Lost the 5 yards on the illegal substitution and gets it back right there by mixing up the snap count.
Gators show blitz on 3rd down. An audible from the freshman Bazelak. Gators rush 4. Bazelak going deep near sideline and just out of the outstretched arms of Hazelton.
Well, you got one-on-one over there as Todd Grantham decided to bring a weak pressure to the boundary, and that's what Todd Grantham's going to do. He's not going to let you sit in the pocket and go through your progressions. And I talked about the young quarterback, Connor Bazelak, having a plan. That's fine right there. He found the one-on-one matchup. He just missed it to one of the most comfortable receivers he has in his arsenal, Damon Hazelton. That still sends a message to the Gators defense that you're going to push the ball down the field even though you don't complete it.
McInnes on to punt. And the shifty Kadarius Toney back to receive at the 21. All the shifting in the world not going to help him there as he's lassoed backwards for a loss. Dr. Pepper Fansville giving fans the keys to the game.
In honor of a little bit of Halloween, as Kyle Trask comes on the field, he's got a lot of different weapons. And the challenge tonight for this Missouri defense, the trick is how do you eliminate a Florida offense that has Pitts and Toney and Grimes, and who do you eliminate it with? And then the trick for Florida is giving up 59% on third down, last in the SEC. Basilik was money last week, going 8 for 9 on third down versus Kentucky.
Gators averaging 42 points per game. That's top 10 of the country, second best in the Southeastern Conference. Gillespie on the tackle of Pierce on first down. Gators will rotate backs. We'll see Pierce, we'll see Malik Davis, and some Naquan Wright as well.
It's really, you know, for the first time in a couple years around here that they've got two really good running backs that they feel comfortable interchanging and rotating in there, and Davis and Pierce.
Trask on second down. From the pocket, wide open target at the 30. That's Davis out of the backfield, who is tripped up at the 45-yard line of Bazoo.
Well, Dan Mullen loves free releasing his backs out of the backfield and getting them involved in the passing game. This was a big concept that worked for them against Texas A&M. Malik Davis on the wheel route up the sideline, and miscommunication in the secondary and the outside linebacker for Missouri not communicating that and passing it off.
9th reception of the season for Davis, who's had to stew on that late fourth quarter fumble that made the difference in the A&M game. Trask backpedaling, fires a strike on target, and that is Kyle Pitts, who is having an All-American season. Nick Bolton was in the face of Kyle Trask, who was still able to fire a dart to his tight end.
They're going to bring pressure. Missouri is up the middle, and the internal part of that Florida offensive line isn't able to squeeze down and protect Trask, and he puts just enough air under it, and he finds the matchup against Martez Manuel. The safety here early on in the game is how they're going to try to defend Kyle Pitts.
Pitts has been a nightmare matchup for corners, safeties, linebackers. Nobody has had an answer for number 84. Trask on first down. Little screen set up in heavy traffic and weaving his way back near the original line of scrimmage. That's Kadarius Toney.
We're already seeing the chess match, Mike, going on between Nick Bolton, their star player on the defensive line. He checks there. He shows blitz. They back out. Kyle Trask thinks they're bringing the house, so he checks to a jailbreak screen over there. That's a matchup that I'm really interested in seeing tonight, as one of the best tacklers and best overall linebackers right there, Nick Bolton, looking into the eyes of Kyle Trask and trying to play that chess match.
Nick Bolton, like a lot of young men on this Missouri roster, plays with a chip on his shoulder. Not highly recruited, but playing like an All-American. Tough yards between the tackles by Damian Pierce, the junior out of Bainbridge, Georgia. Nick Bolton racks up another tackle. He had over 100 last year.
You know, we talked to him this week, and we ask him, we say, do you feel like you get the attention you deserve? He says, no, I'm undersized. People run away from me. The first 3 games, everybody's running away from me. But he's got that instinct, the trigger. He can see it. He can react. And just like on that play, he can disguise things before they ever come to fruition.
A 3-star recruit out of Frisco, Texas, overlooked by the bigger schools. On third down, from the pocket, Trask lasers one complete at the 20 to Grimes, but that'll be well short of a first down. Again, the Gators do not have their starting kicker, Evan McPherson. He is out for this game, so that might make this decision a little bit easier.
Yeah, and I think it is. You're going to see Dan Mullen, I think, go for it on 4th and manageable. 4th and 5 or less is really kind of the area that he thinks if it's less than 4 or 5, he's going to go for it and put the ball in the right arm of his quarterback. I expect to see a lot of 4 and 5 man wide here and let him distribute the football.
On 4th and 4, quick slant, and there's the completion of Kyle Pitts. Again, how do you defend number 84?
Well, short answer, you can't. You can't defend him. You put a corner on him, he's too big, like right there. Jarvis Ware, the junior. More of a receiver. He's 6'6", he's big, he's athletic. You wonder why he's getting so much attention from the next level, because you look on Sundays, he's the exact replica of Kittle, Kelsey, and Hernandez.
First and goal for the Gators. Trask methodical on this first drive, and that one was dangerously thrown, trying to hit Grimes. But that was 8 on 8. Jarvis Ware was right there in coverage.
Well, yeah, Ware gets beat on the previous play on 4th down. He flushes it, he moves on, and he almost intercepts a bubble route right there and takes it about 90 yards back to the house. Jacob Copeland, one of the receivers out there for Florida, just missed his block. That was dangerous.
This is a Missouri defense that throttled Kentucky last week. Wildcats simply had no answer. Missouri's defense feels like they can enhance their reputation with a good performance tonight. Trask looking end zone. Everybody covered, now throws short. Intended for Pitts again, but really nobody open on that play.
Well, outside of 3rd down, this is the biggest part of the story tonight for Missouri to win. Florida comes in 15 for 15. If you're bad at math, that's perfect. That's 100%. They are inside the red zone. They have mismatches galore, and one of the big stories tonight is how does Missouri defend? Who do they choose to eliminate? So far, through the first couple plays, they've been double teaming Pitts, and that means like guys like Grimes and Cadone and Tony should be open.
This is the 12th play of this opening drive. Trask looking left, end zone, and deflected. Great defense by the true freshman Ennis Rakestraw. Missouri beat out Alabama and Texas for his services.
And they double team Kyle Pitts. Florida lines him up to the bottom of the screen, and so Trask is forced to throw the corner right there to Tony. And, you know, Tony's a little bit undersized. He's not exactly the guy you want to be throwing a jump ball to at only 6 foot. But a phenomenal play right there of Rakestraw to stay in his hip pocket, not panic, find the ball with his eyes, and go up and make a huge stop there on the first possession.
First career field goal attempt for the junior Chris Howard. Again, no Evan McPherson available tonight. And the kick is good. Confidence builder for that young man, and an impressive opening drive for the Gators, who lead it 3-0.
You've spent searching for the right location.
10 team in the Florida Gators, and he historically has been a part of some big upset wins, going back to his days as an OC at Boise State in the Fiesta Bowl, knocking off Arizona. How about as an OC at NC State, knocking off the Seminoles? And last year as a first-year head coach at Appalachian State, defeated 2 Power 5 schools, North Carolina and South Carolina, and that put everybody on notice as Eli Drinkwitz's stock absolutely skyrocketed, became a hot name for a number of openings, and landed in Mizzou. And so far the results and the returns have been pretty strong. For the Tiger faithful as Beatty returns the kickoff with penalty flags flying everywhere. Wrapped up at the 25-yard line and likely to be taken back.
The 18-yard return for the Tigers, but a flag on the play.
During the return, holding number 7 on the receiving team. 10-yard penalty, first down.
Now we will get another look at the Missouri offense led by the freshman Connor Bazelak.
So we saw the first drive. The idea was to come out, get the ball out of the freshman quarterback's hands, quick game, and mix it up with run and pass. It'll be interesting to see how they attack the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th drive, and are they going to put the ball in the right hand of Connor Bazelak like they did against LSU, or is this going to be kind of a ground and pound game, control the clock like last week against Kentucky?
Go to the air on first down and hit the reliable Jalen Knox. Feels like he's been in Como for about 10 years. It's his 20th reception of the year. They like their receiving core. Knox, kind of the steady guy, and then Hazleton, the transfer from Virginia Tech, as well as Kiki Chisholm, talented transfer from Angelo State. Little razzle-dazzle reverse play. It's Knox, and Knox has some room down the sideline, past the 40, into plus territory and out of bounds. Big-time gain for Missouri.
Well, Eli Drinkwitz loves the trick plays. He ran one against LSU, the flea flicker, and he ran one last week. But watch the quarterback here, Connor Bazelak. Hand it off, go back, get involved, young man. Just getting away there of Brenton Cox. and it allows Jalen Knox, the speedster, the guy they love using in the gadget package, to pick up a huge gain.
32 yards. A lot of trick plays in the arsenal of one Eli Drinkwitz. He calls them trick plays and special plays, and they've run plenty. They've run a number of flea flickers. LSU looked like they were just completely befuddled by a number of razzle-dazzle plays, and that's one of the things that Eli Drinkwitz brings to the table.
That's what I always loved about playing for an offensive head coach, is they have that idea of, we're going to be on the attack. We're going to not be stagnant. We're going to go for your throat early in the game.
On 2nd and 5, Roundtree probes the right side. Had a great talk with Larry Roundtree earlier this week. There's a guy, again, who was left at the altar in terms of a lot of Division I offers. Missouri, one of the last teams to come there and make a phone call and say, hey, we'll take you. He's not the fastest back in the world. He's not the biggest back at 5'10". But what Larry Roundtree brings you is toughness. Yeah. He is a tough runner that always seems to finish falling forward.
And he gets better as the game goes on. Most running backs don't. They die out, not Larry.
They fake the reverse and hit the back out of the backfield. That's Roundtree with the 3rd reception of the year for the senior.
Now this is becoming one of the more popular. You see it in the NFL on 3rd and short, 3rd and 2. They motion the receiver across, and it really puts that outside safety or backer in a bind, especially with the play action fake, and they free release the running back into the flat, and you just out leverage them like they did there, and it's enough for the first down.
They'll continue to go tempo. Hand off Roundtree on 1st down, spinning ahead to the 25-yard line, brought down by Brenton Cox, the former 5-star recruit and Georgia Bulldog who transferred to Florida, and they're hoping he'll become a stalwart for this Gator defense.
As much as they need Brenton Cox to show up and become a Ja'Kai Polite or become a Jarvis Jones for Todd Grantham, they need him to become a 3-down player, and part of that is taking on blocks and becoming more of a 2nd and 3rd down run stopper, not just a pass rusher on 3rd and predictable passing situations.
6th play of the drive, Roundtree with a head of steam, churning those legs right near the marker past the 20, and that should be enough for a 1st down.
You're going to see the left side really center. Michael Maietti and Dylan Spencer left guard right there. Outside zone, Larry Roundtree. If you get a hat on a hat and get some push going in the same direction, he's big, he's fast, and he's got great vision. For a guy with his size, he'll do the rest.
Tyler Beatty in the game now on the left of Bazelak, who cocks and fires, completes it. Modest gain to the 16-yard line. That's Jalen Knox on the reception.
Really a good mixture here by Eli Drinkwitz on the first couple possessions of run and pass. And mixing it up on 1st and 2nd down as well. It's not all run on 1st down and pass on 2nd down. I love how they're getting the ball out quick for Connor, really, as they have a couple guys, Javon Foster at right tackle, Dylan Spencer, a couple backups playing, taking pressure off that O-line.
Eli Drinkwitz, who calls all the plays as the head coach and the offensive coordinator, dialing up a successful drive thus far here. And you mentioned how good Florida's been in the red zone. Missouri's been pretty good as well, 11 for 12 in the red zone.
And this was the recipe last week. And as you see, Todd Grantham bringing in his 3rd down nickel package, getting fresh bodies on the field. You know, Missouri last week, they had plays of 12-play drives, 13. They even had a 20-play drive, but they didn't get in the end zone. That's what it's going to take to beat Florida tonight. You can eat up that clock and hog that clock, but you got to turn it into 7 and not 3.
Another one of those money downs for this Gator defense. 3rd down and 5. Bazelak, pocket collapses, rolls out, and throws a one-hopper incomplete. Pressure getting to Bazelak that time, and Missouri will try and settle for 3.
Well, Bazelak's eyes were in the right place as he was trying to find Barrett Bannister right there. And he says Barrett Bannister is the guy that I got the best chemistry with. It was just a quick 5-yard out route. And Elam was over there soft, playing soft. Really didn't have a chance to drive on the play and make a pick or an interception or the batted ball. Not for sure why Connor didn't pull the trigger.
His coach calls him Janikowski because of his stature, and that one is wide right for the kicker, Harrison Mevis. Just a chip shot, but that one never had a chance, so the Missouri drive stalls. No points. Gator ball when we come back. Gators on the ropes. Then Felipe Franks, their starting quarterback at the time, goes down with an injury. And in comes Kyle Trask, who, remember, was not only a backup throughout his career in college, he was a backup to De'Aaron King, now the Miami Hurricanes quarterback in high school. So nobody knew what to expect out of Kyle Trask at the time, a junior. Well, then he leads the Gators back to victory in that ball game, continues to win games and become one of the better passers in the SEC. The first Florida passer since one Rex Grossman to have 4+ touchdown passes in 3 consecutive games. He has been nearly flawless this year. The one interception, Gator fans will tell you, actually hit the ground. So you can't play more flawless so far. And he's going back to his top target, over the shoulder catch by Kyle Pitts. Devin Nicholson was shadowing Kyle Pitts, but he still made the grab.
Well, this is the conundrum defensively for Ryan Walters. This time they put a linebacker on him, Nicholson, and what a dime by Kyle Trask to Kyle Pitts, the Kyle connection, one of the best in the country. That's good defense. And as Dan Mullen told us this week, ball placement beats every type of coverage, just like it did on that throw.
A 32-yard hookup, and the Gators are back in business in Missouri territory. On play action, Trask with time, dumps it down low to the back, Pierce. Pierce with a little wiggle, Pierce breaks a tackle, cutting back at the 20 and dragging defenders past the 15.
What I love about this decision is watch how quickly, less than a second and a half, he gets the ball out, zone coverage, and then Damian Pierce does the rest. Missed tackles galore. Great quick decision, processing information by Trask.
Trask again. And that time got a little bit of greedy, trying to thread the needle to Kyle Pitts, but great coverage on the play by Tyree Gillespie, number 9, who's an interesting story. A senior from just down south here, Ocala, Florida, went to Ocala Vanguard, same high school as one Dante Culpepper. And they did not offer him a scholarship, wound up going to Missouri, and he's been a great find for them.
He's a guy that leads this defense, has played a lot of games, but these guys in the secondary, including him, have got to have kind of a quick mind tonight, flush it and move on, because they're going to get beat. They got to be able to fill this and play it throughout the game.
On 2nd and 10. Trask flushed out, goes end zone, double coverage on the play, nothing there for Xavier Henderson, the freshman from Miami, Florida.
You know, you forget, Mike, that Kyle Trask is only in his 14th career start tonight. I mean, when you see him make quick decisions like he did on the check down to Damian, I mean, that's a decision that a guy who's in the 5th year of Dan Mullen's system makes, not a guy who's only in his 14th career start. And that's not a play that'll make SportsCenter top 10, but that's playing the position the right way.
I wanted to get your thoughts on something both he and offensive coordinator Brian Johnson said about the position after the play. It's a big play on 3rd down and 10. And Trask stumbles and now will be lassoed down to the 15-yard line. Great pursuit by that Missouri defense. That'll be number 39, Chris Turner, the senior.
And this is what they need, to be able to get pressure with 4. That time, Jeff Coat beats DeLance off the end, and Chris Turner there to kind of wrap Trask up. Trask isn't the most mobile guy. You see that wears that kind of that big bulky brace. He's not exactly, you know, the most athletic guy in the whole world, but they make up for it in other ways. Sometimes using Emory Jones, who's limited tonight, but a big stop. 2 for 2 now in the red zone stop-wise for this Missouri defense.
Howard hit his first career field goal attempt, this one from 32, and it is also true. So 2 for 2 for the backup kicker, forced into starting duty tonight. And the Gators lead it 6-0. Which is a bit of a trick, and they hope to get a treat with a victory here tonight and improve to 3-1 against a Missouri team which has made a lot of noise with back-to-back wins over LSU and Kentucky. How about what LSU was unable to do against Auburn today? They got throttled in that matchup. Return by Beatty for Missouri, who will take it out to the 26-yard line. Tonight, we'll have SEC football final hosted by Dari Noga, Gene Chizik, Chris Doering and Roman Harper. You're not going to find a better quartet. They'll take you through the biggest stories from the day and break all the games down. It's 10:30 Eastern Time right here on the SEC Network. So another drive for Missouri. They've dominated time of possession so far in this game, but they haven't had any points to score to show for it so far. Bazelak lasers one incomplete, and out to the 40 is Hazelton as we say hello to Taylor Davis.
When I asked Missouri players how they would describe Connor Bazelak, they said composed and aggressive. This is a guy that ran the triple option in high school, and he said it has made him very comfortable with contact. You'll see him step into the pocket a lot. He said he was under center, close to defenses. It's part of why he is not going to shy away from contact tonight.
Yeah, he's not a guy that appears to get rattled. He's so stoic, almost emotionless when you watch him, and we had a chance to talk to him. Asked him if we've ever been to the Swamp. He said, nope. Closest I've ever come was playing AAU basketball tournaments in Orlando, 2 hours south of Gainesville. So this is a new experience for him, but he's had a few new experiences already.
Yeah, his personality, when you meet him in person, doesn't really reflect his personality on the field, if that makes sense. I mean, you kind of got to poke him when you're meeting with him and go, hey, man, does anything get you fired up? But that's not who he is on the field. He's a gunslinger, and he's extremely aggressive.
It's hard to play it cool and discreet when you light up the defending national champions the way he did against LSU. A lot of people fell in love with Connor Bazelak after that game. Rifles one incomplete here. That's one of the few misses he's had so far tonight. He tried to hit Knox on the slant. Brad Stewart was in coverage.
Yeah, I think Eli Drinkwitz is calling a great first couple possessions. Ball's coming out quick. He's mixed in some trick plays. Staying patient, trying to stay patient with the run, but 1 for 3 so far for Missouri on third down. Here they are in 3rd and 9, 3rd and 10 again. Hard to figure out where that fourth pass rush was coming from Todd Grantham's defense.
Not a whole lot of blitzing so far from this Florida D. We'll see if they dial one up on 3rd and 9.
Eli Drinkwitz freezing him at the line of scrimmage to try to get into the perfect play.
Four-man rush. Bazelak under hot pursuit, somehow gets out of it. And then will tiptoe out of bounds. Nobody open downfield. Brenton Cox and Marlon Dunlap seemingly had a sack, but Bazelak pulled a Houdini act on him.
Well, even though you didn't bring him down and get credit for the sack, this is a great sign. Todd Grantham has desperately needed a guy like Brenton Cox, the former 5-star, to step up and to be able to get pressure with just 4 down. And this defense is missing and had to say goodbye to a stud at each level of the defense last year, specifically Jabari Zuniga. That's a great sign early on for that D-line.
But will take a bounce, and a good bounce for Missouri down at around the 15-yard line. So we'll get another look at this Gator offense, which came in averaging over 42 points a game. And Dan Mullen was quick to point out to us on that Texas A&M game, they only had 7 drives. They scored on 6 of them. Of course, the last one was the fumble from Malik Davis, which really changed the outcome of that ball game. But the one thing that, if you're going to nitpick, and Dan Mullen and offensive coordinator Brian Johnson, they're kind of perfectionists. The one thing they said is we need more plays. They're averaging only 65 plays. That's the second lowest number in Division I college football, so they'd like to be able to get on the field more.
And more plays mean your defense isn't on the field as much either, but 7 possessions, that's like what you get against a triple option offense.
Yeah. Certainly on pace to get well more than that, maybe 7 in the first half. First down run jammed up at the line of scrimmage was Naquan Wright into the waiting arms of Trajan Jeffcoat, the sophomore out of Columbia, South Carolina.
Yeah, they'll argue about who's the best pass rusher, Trajan Jeffcoat or Trey Williams, but you see here him screaming down the line of scrimmage, and really not respecting the bootleg or the naked action. That might be the next step, the play call, when you see that defensive lineman pitching and running hard, is running the bootleg out the back door.
A low-scoring first quarter. Gators 6, Mizzou nothing. Back from the Swamp in a moment. course, Missouri is not a lifelong member of the SEC, joined the conference back in 2012, but there is some history between these two schools predating that, including the 1966 Sugar Bowl when Missouri defeated the Florida Gators by a score of 20-18. Of course, the quarterback for the Gators back then, the All-American Steve Spurrier, who would go on to win a Heisman Trophy as a Gator. And you might notice those uniforms look a little bit different than normal. That's what they're wearing tonight, the throwback unis. Blue helmets. I like the look, pretty sharp. Trask has been sharp so far and completes that dime for a first down. Past the 41, out to Gamble, the tight end. Taylor Davis, what do you have?
Steve Spurrier was asked about his favorite memories in these helmets, and he mentioned the 65 game against Florida State, down 17-16, came back to win 30-17. He was asked about the Sugar Bowl where he won MVP. He said, we lost. I'd rather forget that one.
He's got plenty of good memories, both as a player and a coach, that is for sure. Trask, not the most mobile, but squeezes out about a yard before Devin Nicholson, the Mike linebacker, knocks him down to the turf.
No, not the most mobile guy, and you know, I think a lot of Florida fans might thought coming into the year that there might be a package for Emory Jones. Emory Jones available tonight, but also not 100% healthy. And so usually you see a more athletic quarterback, Alex Smith, Dak Prescott. I think that they've been trying to get some other ways to run the ball.
And on that point, Anthony Richardson, number 2 on the depth chart tonight. And the true freshman out of Gainesville, Florida. Eastside High School will run it out to the 49. Emory Jones ordinarily would be the number 2, but Dan Mullen telling us this week that Anthony Richardson was going to be the number 2 in this game.
Yeah, they love this kid, the freshman here out of Gainesville. And as you see there, he'll come in probably for some short down runs as he stays in the game here. A lot of zone reads, quarterback reads, but love this wrinkle of Dan Mullen's offense.
He will stay in on 3rd down and 1.
False start there.
This will likely back the Gators up 5.
That's the conundrum of bringing in the backup quarterback with the number 1 offensive line, right? You're working on that snap count all week. And
False start, number 56 on the offense. 5-yard penalty. 3rd down.
The minute difference between the way Kyle Trask says the snap count might be set hut and the way Anthony Richardson might say it is set hut, and that's the difference in a false start and not.
How do you say it?
I tried to run them together. Set hut. You know, the offensive linemen, they want a head start, right? So it's got to be all one together, right? Set hut, set hut. They want it all at once.
That's the dulcet cadence of Hudson Mason that you hear. I'm Mike Morgan, Taylor Davis on the sideline. 3rd and 6 for the Gators. Blitz coming from Mizzou. Trask hit as he throws, and Adams going to be picked off at the 40. That's Jarvis Ware streaking down the sideline. Ware with a convoy breaks a tackle, spins, and he's in the end zone. A touchdown for Mizzou.
Well, this all starts with some pressure that up front for the Florida Gators, they just don't hold up. And Kyle Trask's arm gets hit. And you'll see here comes Nick Bolton, gets his arm on the hand of Kyle Trask. And Ware does the rest. He takes it back for a pick 6. Those are the turnovers that Ryan Walters, the defensive coordinator, talked about. We got to steal some possessions, but that was all. Give all credit to Nick Bolton, the linebacker there on the blitz, for getting his hand up and hitting Trask's arm.
Oh, I like that. Putting on a slick robe, heavyweight champion style. Nick Bolton has been knocking out opposing players throughout his career. What a season already for the junior out of Frisco, Texas. And Missouri struggling before that. On offense, gets a pick 6 on defense. What a play by Nick Bolton and Jarvis Ware.
Number 56 needs to squeeze down right there and pick up the blitzing linebacker, Nick Bolton, and he doesn't. They have enough in protection. Nick Bolton for Missouri gets his hand up and on the arm of Kyle Trask, and it leads to a pick 6 for the Missouri Tigers.
It's the kind of play we've come to expect from Nick Bolton, the all-SEC linebacker. One of the things he told us during the week was, I'm out there to make splash plays. I want to make plays that change the complexion of the game. That one certainly did. Bolton was a guy that when COVID hit and so many of the other players went home, he stayed just to work out. Stayed in Como, worked out every day. He's a self-proclaimed chef. His teammates say he cook up a pretty good course.
He's cooking up a turnover there for his defense, and that's what they need to stay in this game. I thought coming in that they had to control the clock, win the control battle, the time of possession, which they are, but they needed to create an extra turnover and steal a possession of this potent Florida offense, and they did that right there. He's a guy that's a disruptor. It's not always tackles. Sometimes it's an assist, like right there for the interception.
The second pick thrown by Trask all year. The first Florida pick 6 since 2016, as Kadarius Toney, who has been quiet, was dropped for a loss by who else? Nick Bolton.
Yeah. Nick Bolton, again, you're going to get tired of hearing his name tonight. Most of the times they run away from him. This time they run to him. And how do you not get a hat on one of the best defensive players in the league? I mean, you would think that, and I'm sure Coach Hevesy, the offensive line coach for Florida, has talked all week and circled number 32 in white as a guy they got to get a hat on every single run play.
We asked the question at the top, what kind of rust would show in this first game for the Gators in 3 weeks, 2 weeks with no football activities? I'd say there's been a good amount on the offensive side so far. Run between the tackles here, and spinning his way for a good gain is Dameon Pierce.
This was a good rushing defense for Missouri. 4th in the league. They only give up about 120 yards per game. And when I look at the defense for Missouri, Mike, you don't see outside of Nick Bolton, you don't see some blue chip, a lot of 4- and 5-star guys, right? I mean, it's really in total and in totality, they're better than really any individual part or player. They play really good as a unit. And Ryan Walters, one of the most untold stories this year is Eli Drinkwitz bringing back Ryan Walters on the defensive side of the ball.
No question, defensive coordinator, a holdover from the Barry Odom era. A 3rd down and 4. And a timeout called by Florida. There is defensive coordinator Ryan Walters. Take a timeout. Come back in just a moment.
With the Capital One Venture Card, you earn unlimited double miles on every purchase, every...
We all know that, but 36 plays, 145 total yards, just 5 completions. It was a nightmare performance. Thanks in large part to that man, Ryan Walters, the defensive coordinator, who Eli Drinkwitz told us earlier in the week, no matter what job he took, that was the first call he was going to make, was Ryan Walters. He wanted him as his defensive coordinator. A lot easier to make that call when you get the job that he's already located at.
Yeah, smart move by Coach Eli Drinkwitz, bringing back a guy who had the top 15 defense in the country last year.
3rd down and 4. Mizzou rushes 3. Trask all kinds of time, surveys, and incomplete. Henderson, the freshman, unable to reel it in.
Now 0 for 5 for Florida on 3rd down. This time, Missouri plays zone. Good job of buying some time ad-libbing, and that's just a drop by the freshman Xavier Henderson. It's a low ball, but a ball that he should catch. And I think Dan Mullen is probably telling Kyle Trask there, hey, that ball's got to be caught. I didn't see another open receiver. Good job by Missouri passing off the zone coverage there.
End over end punt. Will take a bounce at the 30. Florida trying to say that touched a Missouri return man. We'll have to take another look at this. Certainly it's reviewable. It's Cade Musser, the return man, getting out of the way, and the classic Peter type of play. Make sure that all your teammates get out of the way. Did it hit number 10 in the derriere is the question.
Yeah,
I think Chris Mills.
I didn't see the ball. Really what you're looking for is the ball to change, right? The rotation of the ball to change.
The field was not touched by the receiving team.
And again, obviously the key here is that it was ruled that it was not touched, so it has to be indisputable video evidence that, as you mentioned, as the ball changed direction here.
Yeah, you can't tell from this angle. The other one is going to be the best angle to try and decipher if this hits. You know, from that angle, it looks like it hits off his back. Might be a little too far to tell there.
This might be the money shot.
Yeah, I don't think there's going to be enough video evidence to overturn that. And to your point, that's why the call on the field is so imperative. Because if there's not, then clearly there's not enough evidence and the call on the field stands. But this is you remember the week 1 Tennessee, South Carolina. I mean, this is how Tennessee went into South Carolina and won. South Carolina, and Mike Bobo's offense was about to get a drive at the very end of the game. And a guy running down on punt team doesn't get away when his guy's yelling Peter, Peter.
Right, and that one was 1,000% conclusive.
Right.
There was no question on replay. You could see that it hit one of the Gamecock special teamers. I don't know if we have enough here that this would be overturned. You saw 3 different angles at it. I'm not sure if we're going to have enough for this one to be changed.
After further review, the ruling on the field stands. First down, Missouri.
There you have it. Call will stand. Our referee today, David Smith, who hails from the state of Alabama. Marty Smith and Ryan McGee have some fun and talk everything SEC Wednesdays at 7 Eastern, 6 Central, right here on the SEC Network and the ESPN app. He's Hudson Mason, Taylor Davis on the sideline, Mike Morgan with you here from the swamp. A little hot and muggy here in this stadium compared to what most people are feeling outside tonight. The heat's been dialed up on this Gator team, which has been out of action for 3 weeks. Deep ball down the field is caught at the 30. Stumbling is Knox, and he cannot reel it in. I apologize. He had it. And Jalen Knox was thinking 6, but could not hold on.
Well, 1st and 10, Eli Drinkwitz is going to max protect, half roll, and throw a shot over the middle of the field. And Rashad Torrance from the Florida Gators gets toasted. And this is an absolute drop by Jalen Knox. Should have at least been a catch and a fall right there and a gain of probably 40 yards. And, you know, the redshirt freshman quarterback's going, man, I can't put it any better than that.
That's about as much emotion as you'll see from Connor Bazelak. Again, he is about as stoic as they come, but even he had to say, come on, man.
Well, that's what happens when you really use the run to set up the pass. And that's why it's so imperative for Coach Drinkwitz to stay patient with Larry Roundtree. Be content with those 3- and 4-yard gains, because over enough time, just like what happened there, you'll see the secondary of Florida start to peak in the backfield, and that's when you take the shot over the top.
Florida Gator defense catches a break. 1st down and 10 on the Roundtree run. 10 minutes and change left to go first half. Great defense there, jarring the ball loose on the play. That is Khair Elam.
This has really been a receiving core for the Tigers that's been stellar. Only 1 drop before Jalen Knox's drop. Only 1 drop the past 65 pass attempts. So, again, you talk about not really a big go-to guy that Connor Bazelak loves in every situation, but they've all been super consistent.
Again, if you're just joining us, the Gators without 3 starters in that secondary. Roundtree reversing field. Manages to get right back near the original line of scrimmage. It'll be a 3rd and long.
See here, inside zone, and again, 4 Gators jerseys surrounding, flying to the ball. That's something Todd Grantham's been preaching in the 3 off weeks is, you know, we're going to make mistakes, but make mistakes at 100% flying around to the ball.
One of the bodies you saw giving chase there was 55 Kyrie Campbell, who's back for this Florida defensive line after a 3-game absence. This is 3rd down, call it 8. Underneath, pass caught. Chisholm will dive right near the marker. Going to be awfully close. Kiki Chisholm, the transfer from Division II Angelo State.
They're going to go for this, and I don't disagree. He's probably going to ask for a spot first.
You notice we get less and less the way of measurements these days in college football. There's a lot of ball parking, it seems like, as opposed to the chain gang getting a little cardio in. That's about as close as it gets, so you have to certainly get a measurement here.
Well, I always liked calling for a measurement because it's a way to get a timeout without burning a timeout,
Absolutely.
Right? Like Eli Drinkwitz and his staff are over there. They know it's short. They're standing on the sideline, but it gives them and buys them an extra minute of time to say, hey, what's our best run? What's our best play in this 4th and inches?
I mean, it's a 1-point game. There was a time where you wouldn't even think about it. You would punt it here in your own territory.
Analytics, Mike.
But
it's taken over baseball. It's taken over football.
And think about this. Missouri this year, 8 for 12 on 4th down. That is awfully strong. Eli Drinkwitz certainly has a little bit of a riverboat gambler reputation already in his short tenure as a head coach.
Well, going back to that 3rd down, I mean, you're seeing Todd Grantham play a little bit more vanilla. And it's not a surprise because he's got 3 new guys or 3 guys with inexperience in the secondary. They're playing a lot more bland stuff, just lining up and playing man instead of disguising. And that time, Connor Bazelak knew what they were in and just dumped it down in man coverage for a big game.
Got a staggered eye look with Roundtree, the deep back. On 4th and about a foot, Gators jump, no snap, and no flag. And they're not going to snap it. They try to draw them off sides.
Missouri.
And boy, if you snap this football, Hudson Mason, that's what Coach Drinkwitz is yelling. Why don't you snap it?
Well, they got 2 options. Either snap the ball, which that's on the center, but if you're Case Cook, the right guard, just reach out and touch him.
Right.
And I think what Eli Drinkwitz is upset about also is he feels like there was contact made.
T-Mobile's been building its 5G network for a moment like this. Introducing the iPhone 12.
Well, Javon Foster is the new right tackle for Missouri, and you're going to watch him here as jumping on the play, Marlon Dunlap, and a golden opportunity for Mizzou there, Hudson.
Yeah, I said on the other side of the break that Case Cook had to touch him, and it looked right there like Javon Foster reached out and did touch him. And I think that's what Eli Drinkwitz was upset about. But also as a center there, Michael Maietti, you got to snap the ball. That's a free 5.
And Missouri compounds problems with a procedure penalty here.
False start on the offense. All 11 players were not set prior to the snap. 5-yard penalty, 4th down. Please reset the game clock to 9 minutes, 5 seconds. 9:05.
Really a missed opportunity, Mike, right there. You think about back to 3rd down. It was 3rd and 10. And you get into a situation on 4th and inches where you should have gotten a fresh set of downs and have the ball at midfield. It's a missed opportunity there by Missouri.
High spiraling kick. This is going to bounce inside the 10 and go to the end zone. A break for Florida there, as the Gators will take over 1st and 10 from the 20 as we check in with Dari Noka in the studio.
All right, guys, Alabama absolutely all over Mississippi State. They're at the break now. The story of the game, receiver Devontae Smith, 3 touchdown catches, 159 receiving yards, 27 zip time.
Well, I think the bigger takeaway perhaps from that score is not what's right with Alabama. I think we already know that. They're one of the best teams in the country. But when is the Mississippi State offense going to show us something? It's been a tough stretch of games for Mike Leach and company. Trask on 1st down, settles in the pocket, dumps it down low. Out to the 25, busting out of the tackle and running toward the sideline near the 1st down marker is Pierce.
As long as Missouri's defense keeps dropping out underneath these zone lanes and zone coverage, Kyle Trask says, nope, you're going to drop, spot drop. I'm just going to dump it down to Pierce there for a 10-yard gain on a check down.
Stay on the ground with Pierce. I don't know, Hudson, I'll ask you. I'm not trying to take anything away from the Missouri defense, but this is a Florida offense that came in averaging 42 points a game. I'd have to think that that layoff has left them a little bit out of sync so far.
Yeah, you know, they look good on 1st and 2nd down. It's really the 3rd down. I mean, they were one of the best coming in. 6th in the country at converting third down. They're 0 for 5 tonight, so I think that's been where the rust has shown the most.
From the gun on 2nd and 9. Flushed out of the pocket. Back shoulder complete. Penalty flag on top of it. Out to the 32 is Grimes with his first reception, guarded by the freshman Rakestraw.
This is what I would consider the second most impressive throw tonight for Kyle Trask.
Pass interference on the offense, number 8. 15-yard penalty from the previous spot. Replay, 2nd down.
But it's not going to count. Evidently a push off there by Grimes. See Kyle Trask here, great pocket presence, steps up, throws it. Defender's got his eye turned to it. And from that angle, I don't see the push off on Grimes.
You're going to see a lot worse than that not called.
Yeah, Florida fans have a right to be disgruntled here in the Swamp because it was an impressive play, ad-libbing out of the pocket. That's exactly how you just tell your quarterback, hey, DB's got his head turned toward you, throw it right at the back of his helmet. I didn't think Grimes' arms were extended by any means.
Take away a big gain, and now 2nd down and 23. Trask with time completes out to the 30. It'll be Grimes again, the intended target. Grimes, a senior out of Fort Lauderdale, St. Thomas Aquinas High School, which has been a factory for great football talent over many decades. Go all the way back to one Michael Irvin. Sets up a 3rd down and 11. Under 9, make it under 7 minutes to play first half. Pattern for Trask. Running for his life, looking down, throws across his body, and is it caught? I will say incomplete, intended for Grimes. I couldn't tell if that was for Grimes or the receiver in front of him. Grimes had the better shot at it.
No, he was actually doing the cardinal sin, which is throwing the ball back across your body. Trask is actually going for the redshirt freshman Naquan Wright right there, the running back. And it should have been another catch.
Another drop.
And it wasn't intended for Grimes. But that's the 2nd drop on 3rd down by Grimes. And you talk about rust. Again, it's the 3rd down rust that is showing the most for this Florida offense.
Heavy pressure on the punt by Finn, and a fair catch at the 23-yard line where Missouri will set up shop when we come back.
Auburn and Ole Miss together, all kinds of offense. We will show it to you. First half thoughts here, Missouri, Florida.
Florida's normally really good in the red zone, not finishing drives with touchdowns tonight.
Playing much better on defense this go around.
7-6 game. We thought this would be good. Guys, it looks like you do have a good one. See it happen.
Dari, it's been good, not always pretty. Both teams combining for 1 for 11 on 3rd down. As Coach Chizik mentioned, the Gators settling for 2 field goals early in this game, and thus have not found the end zone yet. A 1-point game, and 1 touchdown of the game coming on a pick 6 for the Missouri defense. The focal point of this Florida team coming out of the A&M loss was how was the defense going to play better. They've actually performed quite well tonight, technically speaking. They're pitching a shutout.
Yeah, besides the big throw over the top that Jalen Knox caught, they've been sharp.
Pass underneath. Now set up another 3rd down where Missouri is just 1 for 5. We talked about the money downs this year. The Gator defense has surrendered 61% on 3rd and 4th down. But so far they have really tightened up on 3rd down. A 3rd and 3 upcoming for the freshman Connor Bazelak and Mizzou.
Well, this is where I said Connor had to be on his A game. Last week, 3 for 4 on 3rd down against Kentucky, converting 3rd downs. Looks like Florida is going to play him man here, find his best matchup.
Bazelak on a little slant, and they're going to get a late penalty flag. There was a lot of contact on the play. That's Elam, the sophomore, trying to shadow Damon Hazelton.
Well, Elam is clapping his hands, acting like it might be offensive pass interference.
Holding on the defense, number 5. 10-yard penalty from the previous spot, automatic first down.
Again, Todd Grantham shows a lot of pressure, backs out, but he plays one-on-one and man into the boundary, and I don't. Tough to see two guys there just, within 5 yards. That's just natural hand batting, combat, two guys both going for the football.
Big call and a rare third down conversion for Mizzou tonight. Again, a little more razzle-dazzle, reverse. Chisholm running for his life and going backwards. Gators snuffed that one out. Brenton Cox.
Well, Brenton Cox said the first time they ran the reverse, you weren't going to fool me. Second time, fool me once, you're not going to fool me twice. This time they run the reverse again. There's Brenton Cox right there about midfield, doing his job, staying home. Baszler was able to get the block last time. This time doesn't stand a chance, and that's a huge, after what I would disagree with a bad PI call on third down, that's a huge stop there on first down.
So much expectation for Cox coming out of high school. Now Roundtree is going to be stopped for a loss. Penalty flag in the backfield. But this Gator defense trying to ignite this squad that's trailing by a point here in the first half.
I wonder, Mike, if this is going to be either holding or a face mask. Usually when you see guys kind of running around in a pile like that, arms are reaching, a face mask gets pulled.
Holding on the offense. That penalty is declined. Third down.
Nope. It makes sense to decline it because now you've got a third down and long.
The foul is on number 59. Number 59.
59 is Case Cook, the co-captain, the right guard. That's been the most surprising unit for this team so far, according to Coach Eli Drinkwitz. So they've really played kind of above expectations thus far. They'll need to give Connor some time on 3rd and 28. They'll play a conservative little pass underneath, breaking tackles, and finally upended at the 36-yard line is Roundtree. Brad Stewart on the tackle for the Gators.
Timeout, Florida. They're second.
Gators will stop the clock with 4 minutes to go here in the first half.
Missouri really had an opportunity to go down and score right before the half, kind of milk the clock after a very favorable PI call on Elam, and Eli Drinkwitz goes back to the trick play. He's not shy about going to those trick plays. That would have been the second one already tonight, and first time it worked for him. Second time, Brenton Cox did a great job showing some eye discipline, staying at home, and really kind of a blown opportunity there for the Tigers after a fresh set of downs.
And Eli Drinkwitz trying to pull off another stunner and beat a top 10 team. Of course, he did it a couple of times at Appalachian State. He's 37 years of age. He's the youngest coach in the SEC and one of just 2 coaches in the league who never played college football. Mike Leach, the other. He's from Alma, Arkansas, grew up an aspiring lawyer, valedictorian in high school, and credits Frankie Vines, his high school coach, for giving him that first big opportunity. And then it was Gus Malzahn, and just continued to work his way up to getting that first head coaching opportunity, and now he's coaching at SEC school. A great story for Eli Drinkwitz. Tony will signal fair catch at the 26. It's time to represent your school by showing us how big you're going to go tonight. Submit your best fan video to #ShowYourSaturday, and you might just get your 15 seconds of fan fame. Somebody on offense is due for some 15 seconds of fame here. We've only had 13 points in this game, and 7 of those came on a pick 6 for Mizzou.
Yeah, it's really, you look at the box score, Florida's dominating in total yards, they're dominating in passing. It's a big drive for the Gators to get some points before the half. Really, the pick 6 is the only thing that's haunted them.
Gators do have a timeout left. Trask shows and then fires in the flat far side. This is Tony, and one of the hardest guys to tackle in the open field, Kadarius Toney, gets the first down. Taylor Davis, what do you have?
something I've noticed down here on the Florida sidelines, guys, is the energy. It's been a bit low at times. Goes back to what we've mentioned. This team went 2 weeks without practice. Coach Mullen told us this week was a bit slower as well. I think stamina may also be playing a role tonight.
I certainly would agree with that. This does not look like the Florida team that we saw the first 3 weeks of the season, as that one was thrown right into coverage. You had Devin Nicholson and Ennis Rakestraw right there to knock that ball away. Dangerous throw from Kyle Trask. He's not been his normal sharp self. We've had a couple of drops for the Gator receiving corps. It has to be expected, though, Hudson. Again, we've mentioned this a number of times. It's uncharted territory. Seen this a couple of times, Sun Belt Conference USA, and the team that's coming off a 3-week layoff has looked awfully rough.
Yeah, and, you know, again, I think it's more of the third down lack of execution and really a mishap on a protection. Otherwise, you're up 6-0.
On second down, Trask going to tuck it and run. He will lumber to the 40-yard line to set up a third down and long. Joshua Bledsoe knocks him to the ground.
So the difference in that play right there, nothing was open, and he gets up in the pocket, and we know he's not the most athletic guy. But that's a good decision because you pick up 4 yards, and on the play before, there was nothing there, and he got flushed out and threw it back across his body, and he's done that a couple times tonight. That's kind of the mental maturation process of playing the position. Even though he's not super athletic, he's got to be content with taking 3 or 4 yard gains if he can when they take everything away.
Gators are 0 for 6 on third down. Make it 1 for 7. That ball right on the money, and dragging tacklers all the way to the 24-yard line is Jacob Copeland.
Well, this is a heck of a throw by Kyle Trask because he uses his eyes to move the safety in the middle of the field to the left. See, you can see him get his eyes back over to the right, and Copeland is at the right place at the right time. Kyle Trask talked about that this week. The reason he can let it rip unconsciously sometimes is because he has spent so many hours with this receiving corps in the offseason, and they don't break his trust. Mike, I used to have a receivers coach who said, and he would tell the receivers all the time, be where you're supposed to be, when you're supposed to be there, and don't break their trust. And that's the thing. If you break, all it takes is one time to break a quarterback's trust, and Kyle Trask might not make that throw and pull the trigger just like he did. But they haven't, and they've been throughout the season where they need to be on time.
It's only the 5th grab of the year for Copeland, a sophomore from Pensacola. It goes for 36 yards, one of the bigger plays of the night for a Gator offense that has had its most quiet half of the season. Sitting on just 6 points with 2 minutes and change to go in the first half. This is Davis in the flat on the grab.
Trask is really itching to get the ball to Kyle Pitts. Every time they've been down here in the red zone, Missouri has played Florida man predominantly, and they're putting a safety, that time Tyree Gillespie, over the top and daring Kyle Trask to throw that matchup. Didn't like it there, dumped it down, but I guarantee you Trask is cognizant of that.
Pitts, 3 grabs on 5 targets so far. Little tunnel screen here set up for Tony. Tony so electric, still on his feet. Kadarius Toney, how do you do it? Might be the shiftiest player in college football. Kadarius Toney on the score.
Remind Florida fans of a smaller guy in stature, Percy Harvin. The jitterbug, 1 missed tackle on the jailbreak screen. Nick Bolton misses a tackle. He never does that. 3 missed tackles. And Dan Mullen talked about it this week. They call it their get-it-to-ems, their touch chart. No matter what the progression, no matter what the play is, we are throwing the ball to Kadarius Toney. And I think he's one of the most improved players overall in this whole conference this year.
That was all number 1. This play didn't look like it had a whole lot going for it from the start, but Kadarius Toney makes a lot of people look silly.
Just a simple jailbreak screen, and you're exactly right, Mike. This is nothing more than having the right Jimmys and Joes. Should have been a face mask there. His helmet's coming off. Everything's falling apart except for his composure. Kadarius Toney, and I talked about it, and I said it just a second ago. You talk about one of the most improved players and a guy who really hasn't gotten enough attention for the strides that he has made as a receiver. Now his 5th touchdown this season. He is running routes better. Kyle Trask has way more trust in him. I mean, there is no skill position player in the league that has improved more, in my opinion, than Kadarius Toney.
And not only sparked a little life into this Gator offense, sparked a little life into the Swamp. Kind of quiet here tonight. Obviously, everybody is restricted in terms of attendance. They can seat about 18,000 tonight. We were told there were still a few thousand tickets available. It has not been even during COVID. This has not been your typical atmosphere here in the Swamp. A little bit of something to cheer about. Now this season, for every field goal and extra point made by participating universities, All-State will make a contribution to the university's general scholarship fund. Thank you, All-State.
Eli Drinkwitz has to be very careful here that he doesn't give the ball back too quickly to Florida's offense. They can score in the blink of an eye. You've got 2 timeouts here, so Coach Drinkwitz needs to be cognizant of trying to burn a little bit of time. See if you can pick up that first down. If you can pick up that first down, then you get into kind of that 2-minute mode and go for points.
With time. Caught at the 30 and out to the 34 is Hazleton.
There's the completion you're looking for. Now you're going to see them get into their 2-minute offense. In college football, when you got 2 timeouts like they do, that's an eternity. No need to rush.
Empty backfield. That one is knocked away. Trying to hit Hazleton again. They've got good chemistry. Hazleton, well, they kind of got a steal with him. A 2-time All-ACC wide receiver at Virginia Tech. Twice led the team in touchdowns and wound up transferring to Mizzou. And 3rd down and 1 with 1:21 to go, first half. Oh, try and run it. Ball on the ground. Who's got it? There is a pile at the 30, and Florida says they have it. They do.
Well, Connor Bazelak and Tyler Beatty are not on the same page, and it's all because of Zachary Carter, number 17 right there. He's going to get and should get credit for the disruption of the play. See Zachary Carter right here. That forces Tyler Bazelak at the last second to think about pulling the ball, and you can't do that to your running back. The mesh there is really screwed up because at the last second, Tyler Beatty is feeling that ball pulled out of his belly, and he's thinking that he should be giving the ball off. Give credit there to Zachary Carter, who's kind of been playing out of position all year with the absence of Kyrie Campbell. This is a huge turnover in a short field here for this Florida offense.
Brenton Cox gets the fumble recovery after a big play on the previous drive. Gators in business at the Mizzou 30. Trask in the pocket. Wide open. Touchdown, Toney.
Kyle Trask to Kadarius Toney. Touchdown, Gators.
Back-to-back touchdowns for Kadarius Toney. That one from 30 yards out. Howard on for the extra point. Right down the middle.
You'll see when you give Kyle Trask a clean pocket, 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 seconds in the pocket, he's going to dial up, he's going to use his eyes, and he finds Kadarius Toney running right down the seam for his 2nd touchdown reception in less than 45 seconds. And what a quick turnaround for these Gators. We saw earlier in the year, or excuse me, earlier in the game, Mike, when you don't give Kyle Trask a clean pocket. Nick Bolton blitzed, he hit him on the arm. You create a dirty pocket, no matter how good you are as a quarterback, you can influence and disrupt them. But you also see the other side of the coin when you give Kyle Trask time to step into his throws. You give him more than really 2.5, 3 seconds there. He's going to find and he's absolutely lethal with his eyes finding the receiver down the field.
16th touchdown pass of the season for Kyle Trask. The Gators cash in on a gift supplied by Missouri on the fumble. Mizzou will have it from the 25. They'll set up shop with 1:08 to go and 2 timeouts, but will they be a little bit skittish after the last turnover?
Yeah, I think they will be, and this is I mean, how quickly this has changed for Missouri. They went from maybe let's get a field goal and go into halftime maybe down 3 to potentially this getting out of hand quickly before the half even ends.
Josiah Pierre is the injured Gator down on the field. Oh boy, did the complexion of this game change in a split moment. The Gators were really struggling offensively, stuck on 6 points for the better part of the first half. And then a miraculous catch and scamper by that man, Kadarius Toney. Then the gift fumble, and then a quick strike again to Kadarius Toney, who was wide open for another score. Meanwhile, Hudson, what about this Missouri offense? They have not scored a point. The 7 points coming on a pick 6 by the defense. What do you want to see differently?
Well, they've had a lot of drops. For a receiving core who came in and was very consistent, Mike, only had dropped 1 ball the past 65 pass attempts. You know, they've made some crucial drops on 2nd and 3rd down that should have moved the chains. And so I think you got to stay aggressive here. Again, I think you got to try to get 1 first down and then move the chains and try to get into 2-minute mode from there.
Bazelak deep down the sideline. Again, a lot of contact and no flag. Jaden Hill on the coverage of Kiki Chisholm. Pressure on the play by Brenton Cox right in the face of Bazelak.
Jaden Hill, inexperienced corner, stepping in tonight for Marco Wilson's done a nice job. Todd Grantham hasn't really put them in a lot of bad situations where they can't succeed, but that's a good job there of not panicking, playing the ball, and turning his eyes. Most DBs fail there because they don't turn their eyes and try to play the ball.
And a lot of backups in that secondary in tonight's game for Florida, and that time Bazelak right on the money to his favorite target, Hazelton.
So now here's the chunk play, and I'm sure they're going to look at this to see if he got his foot in. Safety doesn't get over the top, and it's really a great throw.
And a great catch. He got that left foot down. They're going to look at this, but from that angle, looked like a great catch.
The play is under further review. Ruling on the field was a catch.
You know, I thought it was bad coverage. It looked like they were in cover 2, and the safety didn't get over the top. But after looking at it on a second glance, that Florida safety was in the right spot. I mean, again, that's
left foot down.
Left foot down. Does he control it? Left foot is down before his right foot is out of bounds.
No.
And it looks like, let's see if he controls it all the way through, keeps his arm underneath it. I think that's a catch. You know, Brad Stewart there, the safety. You know, he's doing his job. He's supposed to get off the hash there and play cover 2 in the sweet spot. The honey hole, as I like to call it, Mike, is in cover 2 is right where Connor Bazelak put it. It's about 18 yards deep over there on the sideline. If you could thread the needle over there with a little bit of mustard on the throw like that, then, you know, that's how you take advantage of cover 2. Puts the ball up high and away. That's what I was saying. You got to stay aggressive. You know, you're not going to beat Florida playing from behind by chewing up the clock. You got to trust the right arm of your young quarterback.
Our replay official is Stan Murphy, and what he's looking at, there's no question the left foot is down before the right foot in bounds. But is there a juggle there at that split moment in time that would perhaps overturn the call on the field? That's the only way I would see a possible change on the verdict here. It's a huge call when you think about it, because 55 seconds with the timeouts is an eternity.
Yeah, it is.
After further review, the pass is incomplete.
Yep.
The receiver did not have possession until his foot touched out of bounds.
And that was the one
Third
window.
down on the 25-yard line.
That was the one window to overturn the call, and that's exactly what it was. So the foot was down, but the bobble cost him, and that'll back it up. And maybe now this changes completely what you're going to call here. Gator defense has been really good overall on 3rd and 4th down tonight. We've got a 3rd down and 10 here. 1 for 7 is Missouri on 3rd down. They'll go to a screen play at a Roundtree, and nothing doing there for the senior. So the Gator defense.
Timeout. Timeout, Florida.
Does its job, and the Gators will call a timeout.
The game clock to 48 seconds. 4-8.
And have a chance. Tough to get a word in edgewise. And get a chance here for.
This will be a 30-second timeout.
We are certainly getting a good dose of David Smith and his explanation of that play. I think now we can safely go ahead and speak and let you know that Florida has 48 seconds to try and make something happen here before the half.
Well, how about Dan Mullen there? Most coaches would say, I'm content being up 20-7 and going into the half. He's like, no, not with the quarterback I've got and the weapons I've got. I'm going to call a timeout, and I agree with him. Let your horses go, man. Get them back out there. We've seen Kyle Trask. He can throw the ball vertically and push it down the field. There's just so many options. This offense reminds me of dealer choice. You're a poker player, Mac?
Right.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah.
It reminds me of dealer choice.
I'm all in.
Yeah, no matter what they throw at you, you've got an answer.
Joker's wild?
I don't have much luck playing cards, and I've tried to stay away.
Strike me as more of a roulette guy. High punt. Not going to fair catch it. He'll grab it at the 26, and Tony putting on a clinic again. Hits the turbo button and takes it out to the 45. He is beyond electric.
I think every time Kadarius Toney touches the ball, that Dan Mullen get it to chart goes up, whether he's a punt returner here. I mean, that looks just like the play on the jailbreak screen that he scored.
Yeah.
How many missed tackles? He's small in stature, but it's amazing how many of those guys are so hard to bring down. And Florida fans, I mean, this is reminiscent of, Percy Harvin and the 07-08 team that had so many of those electric guys like that.
I don't invoke the name Percy Harvin often because that is a special player.
Is that a sin here to compare anybody?
But no, I think it's
After
Harvin.
the play was over, dead ball, personal foul, number 26 on the receiving team. 15-yard penalty at the end of the run. First down.
That's a crucial mistake that time. But I think that's actually the closest I've seen to a Percy-type player. I agree the stature is similar. Some of the moves you just don't see from even some of the better playmakers that have come through Gainesville over the last decade or so. Penalty on Kamar Wilcoxon. Well, that'll back him up to the 30. Split twins for Kyle Trask on first down. Unloads. That one was almost picked off. Coverage on the play by Jarvis Ware, who had the pick six earlier.
Florida fans upset, and I think rightfully so. Jarvis Ware, I think, got a handful of jersey there, and Kyle Trask just trying to throw the back shoulder ball to Grimes, and I think he put it right on the money, Mike, and tried to stop and got yanked at the last second.
Second down. Heavy pressure for Trask, and he throws it high. Intended for Grimes. Was covered again by Jarvis Ware. So now a third down and 10, just 24 seconds to go. You're backed up on the 30.
Remember, Florida doesn't have their great kicker, Evan McPherson, so they're going to have to get the ball really even more inside the 30, a little further to go, but even 24 seconds and one timeout, if you pick up about 15 to 20 yards here, you're still in business.
McPherson was a guy they felt confident could hit it from 60. Hole up the middle and run down to the 38-yard line. Naquan Wright tackled by Nick Bolton. And that could be the final play of the half.
Missouri, they're second.
Don't speak so soon there, Michael.
Or you could have Missouri call a timeout and go for a block punt here with 12 seconds to go.
Hey, I'm the guy 0 for 3 tonight on what I thought penalties were. So shooters keep shooting, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, you think Reggie Miller stopped shooting after he missed 3 in a row?
Of course not. And you think I'm going to stop talking just because David Smith, our referees, got an aggressive mic? Absolutely not. We're going to keep going here. Got a great officiating crew here tonight. They've done a good job. Had a couple of close calls in this ball game thus far, but overall, it's one that's been dominated of late by the Gators. Gators could not do much offensively for about a quarter and a half, and that changed quickly with a couple of scores late by Kadarius Toney. Heavy pressure, penalty flag on the play. The ball will bounce inside the 5. That is a perfect punt by Jacob Finn. We'll take a look at the penalty. Initial indication is offsides.
Offside, number 29 on the defense. 5-yard penalty from the previous spot results in a first down, Florida.
And now I think we can safely say they will take a knee and not do a whole lot of gambling with 2 seconds left.
Don't speak too soon. No, that was all about going for the punt block. I mean, that's why Eli Drinkwitz called that there, and you can even tell, you know, the offsides there is proof of a giddy bunch trying to time up the snap, and you know, maybe you bust a crease and you end up blocking one there and you steal some points, but that was the whole time. That was the whole reason of burning a timeout there.
Our halftime crew will be licking their chops to break this one down and chop it up, and no doubt one of the numbers they'll be talking about, that Florida defense holding to Mizzou to 1 for 8 on 3rd down in this first half. A huge improvement from what Gator fans have seen from their defense so far this season. On the right side, final play of the half, and that'll be a little stat patter. Tyree Gillespie makes the tackle, and we go to the half. Or do we? There is a late flag at the 50-yard line. It's starting to resemble the final few minutes today of Kentucky-Georgia, if you watch that game. That was not an easy final 3 minutes, felt like an eternity.
Offside on the defense, number 0, 5-yard penalty from the previous spot. We'll have 1 untimed down.
Well, there you go. All right, what do you dial up here, Hudson Mason?
Well, I'll tell you what, my favorite play in the playbook right here, the quarterback kneel.
Come on now, you would have wanted to show off the arm here, right?
Oh, yeah. Hey, look, I mean, in all honesty, you know, from this position, Kyle Trask can absolutely make it to the end zone. And I was watching the Friday night game last night between Minnesota and Maryland. And Maryland decides at the very end of the game, in range, to not have the younger Tagovailoa throw a Hail Mary. You have nothing to lose.
You got Kyle Pitts at the top of your screen, all 6'6" of them, with long arms. Trask steps up, launches toward Pitts, double teamed and knocked away. Fun play, and the final play, we can safely say, of half number 1. A little bit of a skirmish near the line of scrimmage, and everybody gets in there and says, come on now. Well, we got some tempers flaring over there. I believe that was Coach Mullen, and now this is starting to get a little bit out of hand.
Yeah, Florida needs to get out of here. They got a big game next week against Georgia, and I think that's what Dan Mullen was trying to do, is prevent any one of his players from doing something stupid. This is getting ugly. There's punches being thrown.
Yeah, that's getting beyond ugly. That's another one thrown.
Zachary Carter in there for Florida.
Oh,
this is getting bad. I mean, there's going to be some severe ejections. This is absolutely the last thing that Dan Mullen wanted for his ball club going into the cocktail party next week.
They are having a whole lot of problems trying to break this up. And something happened after that play that incited Dan Mullen and the Gator squad. And I believe Kyle Trask might have taken a shot late, and that, I mean, you don't see Dan Mullen with that look very often. He was absolutely irate.
I thought he was running out there because he was trying to break up his players from doing something dumb. Didn't want him to get a cheap ejection and be out the first half. But I think you're right, Mike. I think somebody took a hit on Trask. His offensive linemen were trying to defend him, and by the time Dan Mullen got out there, it was a little too late. There's a lot to unfold here, and I think the SEC office in Birmingham is probably going to be up late.
It was going to be just kind of a ho-hum final play of the half, and next thing you know, it got ugly in a hurry. And no doubt video of this will be looked at. Could have some suspended players in time. This is Trask on the pass. And oh my. That is Trajan Jeffcoat on the shot.
Now you got Dan Mullen and Eli Drinkwitz going at it.
Well, I mean, these are two head coaches I can promise you will not back down. Now, that's a good sign. I like to see that. Little handshake, little discussion. Going to talk things over with referee David Smith. The thing is, how, if you're the officiating crew, how are you going to
weed through this?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, how are you going to figure out all the extracurricular activity? Who threw a punch?
There were a lot of them.
And who's going to be out for the second half of this game at bare minimum?
Well, I can tell you one of them is going to be Zachary Carter. He was one for Florida that I saw throwing several punches. And there were guys from Missouri throwing several punches as well. I just couldn't decipher through the numbers of who they were and who it was. But whenever we get a chance, obviously we'll show the replay of the hit that kind of sparked all of this. And, you know, Mike, on first sight of the hit, I didn't think it was necessarily dirty. Again, on first glance, and we'll take a peek at it here and again in a second, but that is absolutely what Florida and the offensive line were all upset about.
A lot to sort out when we get ready for the second half. The studio is going to sort out a busy day of SEC football.
How about Dan Mullen as he walks off the field, riling up the crowd at home? Regions halftime report here. Dory, Doring, and Chiswick. And so Trajan Jeffcoat, the big hit. Florida thought it was dirty or late. You don't want to see a half of football end like that, but still an emotional game. Sometimes I don't. You get all, oh, it's not social distance, whatever. This is a football game. These kids want to go and they want to attack each other. It's going to happen.
Well, if your quarterback is hit late, you have an obligation to come up. Offensive linemen have to defend their quarterback. Absolutely. As you as a coach, if you saw one of your offensive linemen walk away from something like that, you would be mad at them. You may not admit it here, but those players are supposed to be protecting their quarterback when things like that happen.
Yeah, there's no question about it. But when I look at it, it wasn't dirty in my opinion.
You don't think that was late?
No, I said it was late. I don't think every late hit. There's some that are blatantly late. That
was about 2 steps late.
He just kept playing through the whistle, and I didn't see it that way at all.
Well, here it is, the melee right after it. And no flag was thrown. Punches were, and they'll have some business to do in sorting out who will not come back onto the field. All right, we can update here. They have assigned an unsportsmanlike conduct penalty to every player on both teams. Well, oh my goodness.
They're going to be reviewing this tape.
You see the punching. I mean, this is a heavyweight bout here that's breaking out of the
I don't know if they realize they have helmets on, though. I don't know if that's the smartest thing.
Never understood that. But there have been some ejections. We're going to have to work our way through this between us here in studio and the guys on the call of this game, Mike and Hudson. This is going to be a mess, though. No question. It's going to take a while to get all this sorted out. Dan Mullen doing his best to get his guys off. He and Eli Drinkwitz, of course, had some words before they came together with the officials and seemed to have worked all of that out. So let's go from your perspective here. I mean, you didn't see everything if you're Mullen or Drinkwitz because you were somewhere in the scrum. You don't know who was doing what, but what's the first thing you tell your team when you walk back in?
That we all have an unsportsmanlike, and if any individual gets another one, you're ejected. You're gone. That's number one. And you got to collect your composure. If I'm Florida right now, I'm going into the locker room with a lead. We've been playing well, but both sides need to do that. This doesn't need to carry on. You want to take it out on somebody, physically hit them between the whistles. It's a violent game. You got to leave this because, again, to your point, CD, yeah, I mean, you want to stick up for your guy, everybody, all that good stuff, but move on and play the football game.
Dari, what happens if the sideline gets a whole personal foul penalty or a unsportsmanlike conduct penalty? I mean, you would lose your whole team, right? I mean, we saw it, remember, a couple of years ago with Florida and Vanderbilt?
Second time.
They got one unsportsmanlike.
Right.
Remember the whole sideline thing with Florida and Vanderbilt a couple years ago? Cost one of the Florida players the rest of the game?
Yeah, that's where we are now. So everybody has an unsportsmanlike. You see an unsportsmanlike conduct in the second half, that player is gone.
Yeah.
All right, in the meantime, Missouri struggling to generate anything offensively against Florida. Much like we talked about with Alabama early, offense great, defense questionable. What have you seen from Florida defensively that should give you reason for optimism here?
I think they're doing a great job. They created a turnover right there. It was about less than a 40-second split there where they scored 14 points, had a little bit of a surge, but I thought the defense has been great on third down. They've been able to get off the field and much better in terms of assignment soundness than what I'd seen earlier in the season.
And think about this, CD. They're missing 3 people in the secondary, 3 starters, and that's a big deal. This Missouri offense didn't do much the entire first half. They got some yards near the end, but they've adjusted all the formations. They've adjusted to all the jet motions, and they've survived all the trick plays. He hit them with 2 or 3 trick plays early in the game, but they're tackling well in open space. It looked like the off time was good for Florida's defense because they're executing much better.
Yeah, weren't sure exactly how they would come out, but it certainly has been a good response to having 3 weeks of no games and 13 days in the middle of that of no practice. All right, let's go on to Alabama. How good this team has looked against Mississippi State, who we know has really struggled since beating LSU in the opener. Jalen Waddle looking on, of course, out for the year. Mac Jones, Devontae Smith, developing theme.
Yeah, we wondered how they were going to be able to fill the void of Jalen Waddle. Today it's been Devontae Smith stepping up. Mac Jones has found him early and often in this one.
Of course, we'll keep tracking it. The SEC career touchdown catch record.
Yeah, please do. Keep me up to date.
You and Amari Cooper, career record 31. This to Devontae Smith would be 29.
He's just 2 away right now.
Feel him creeping
31
up
minus
behind you. That's
2. Yeah,
2.
very much.
Surely there wouldn't be another one.
Well, in the first half, there's no.
This might have been the best round of the day.
That would be 30.
Yeah, that's 30.
Over 150 yards receiving and 3 touchdown catches for Devontae Smith in the first half. 27-0. And they just picked off Mississippi State in the end zone, did Alabama. All right, LSU, Auburn. LSU's won the last 3. They've all been very close. Most of these matchups are. Second start for TJ Finley, and he overthrows his receiver. Nehemiah Pritchett takes it inside the 10. Initially called touchdown, but they brought it back. He was out of bounds. Bo Nix, Eli Stove, 7-zip Auburn.
Yeah, I love what they did with Eli today. It wasn't just the downfield passing game. They got him involved in the run game with the jet sweeps. Anyway, he had a big day today when it was all over.
Finley then, under pressure, hit, fumble, scooped up by Christian Tutt. Tutt takes it to the house. Finley had 3 turnovers. Max Johnson, another true freshman, came in, played the majority of the second half in this game. Look, this is embarrassing for LSU, but certainly reason to feel good if you're Auburn, who you're sick of hearing people say, you've been handed a couple of games. You're not that good. They looked really good here.
Yeah, let's start with the defense because I thought that was the key to the game here. TJ Finley was comfortable all last week against South Carolina because he had no pressure. Well, today the pressure was all over him. Today 4 sacks, forced some errant throws, the fumble as you saw, 3 turnovers that led to Auburn's 21 points there in the first half, and it was all she wrote from there on. The defense was fabulous. Zacoby McClain had 9 tackles alone in the first half. He was all over the field.
Yeah, defense responsible for 21 points today. But let's talk about the offense, CD, because this is the one that's been much maligned over, the last 3 or 4 weeks. I see him getting better. I think there's a chemistry happening between Chad Morris and what's going on offense. But I want to talk about the run game again today. You saw Bo Nix being able to keep the ball on the perimeter. Tank Bigsby continues to develop as an inside run threat. Today, Auburn averaged over 10 yards on first down. Wow. So it was great with the downfield passing game. He hit some big ones to Seth Williams, Anthony Schwartz. They shredded the LSU secondary, but it was all around good today. Good play from the offensive line, down their best lineman in Brandon Council, who's not there anymore from injury. So just a really great performance by Auburn.
Different ways to go into a bye week here. Auburn feeling really good about theirs. LSU not so good. And Alabama is the next opponent for them. All right. Missouri, great start for them. Down 6-0, but then the hit on Trask, the pick by Jarvis Ware. 59 yards later, Mizzou leads. But two quick Kadarius Toney touchdowns have the Gators up 13.
This halftime report is presented by Regions, official bank of the SEC.
Physical run.
That's a touchdown, by the way, too. They reviewed it, and he was laying on top of a lineman there, I believe, to get into the end zone. The difference in this game, Chiz, between where Texas A&M is and where Arkansas is finishing in the red zone. Too many empty possessions for Arkansas. A&M has finished their last 4 times down.
Football final, we've got it for you. Roman just standing by. He's going to join us for that final show when we are all said and done. And my goodness, as we go, a lot more to get to. We'll try to sort out the mess. Some ejections have been handed out. We'll update that as well. Tonight, we'll update it in just moments. Right here on the Regions Halftime Report, Florida and Missouri. All right, 2 quick Trask to Toney touchdowns changed everything late in the first half to give Florida a 20%. Antoine Powell and Missouri fifth-year senior linebacker Trey Williams have all been ejected from this game. Ugly ending to a first half that does have Florida leading 20-7. Georgia, Kentucky. Of course, Georgia and Florida next week in Jacksonville. Joey Gatewood getting his first start. Stetson Bennett, fourth, not his first start. And he hands it off to the freshman tailback Kendall Milton. This is their first drive, picks up 14. I think the idea here is just kind of a methodical, easy-going.
They were intent to run the football this first possession. 12 plays, all of them runs, finishing with a touchdown. They held the ball for over 5 minutes to get the game going.
First drive, second half. Bennett going to find his big 6'7" freshman, Darnell Washington. That's a tight end.
Yeah, big 6'7", 255-pound tight end. It's great athleticism.
It was a statement. Zamir White.
It's a hard time between tight ends and
I know he does. Career day for White, 136 yards. First game over 100 for him, and Georgia wins. Kentucky has scored a total of 3 points in their last 2 games against the Bulldogs. No trouble scoring points if you are Ole Miss. And Elijah Moore had himself a day, folks, a record-setting day, thanks to the arm of Matt Corral, who kept finding him. Corral, Moore, 36 yards.
What do you do when you don't get your best receiver many touches like they did last week? 5 catches for 16 yards against Auburn. They were intent to feed him the football early and often today. At 223 yards in the first half alone receiving.
Yeah, Corral to Moore again, 33 yards, and then just takes that in there. 238 for the day for Moore. That is a school record for yards in a game. Corral 6 touchdown passes. They threw 7 as a team. It was a rout. CD, you and Amari Cooper have company in the record books.
Oh, boy.
I should have known. My phone's blowing up. People are alerting me.
Devontae Smith, his 31st career touchdown catch, tying Doring and Cooper for the SEC career record. You're still up there. You're still tied 1 now.
Records were meant to be tied, Dark.
Just not broken? Just you wait.
This halftime report is presented by Regions, official bank of the SEC.
Score, and it looked like kind of a meaningless Hail Mary at the end of the half was going to send everybody to the locker room and get everybody ready for the second half, and that's when all kinds of fireworks broke out here in Gainesville. What appeared to be a late hit on Kyle Trask by Trajan Jeffcoat ignited Dan Mullen and the Gators sideline. There's the hit, and then the fallout afterward. Dan Mullen made a beeline right for the referee. David Smith obviously wanting a penalty, and then players started barking, and then punches were thrown. 3 players had been ejected, and that's just for now. Of course, this will all be reviewed in Birmingham by the SEC offices, but the kind of thing you hate to see, Hudson Mason, for obvious reasons.
Yeah, let's start with the hit because, that's what started this. Obviously, Dan Mullen going out there opened the floodgates, and there may be some repercussions coming for him as well. But the winner in all of this is Georgia, because Georgia plays next week against Florida, and there's going to be multiple suspensions, and then Georgia plays Missouri in a couple weeks. I didn't think the hit was dirty. I thought it warranted an ejection and a 15-yard penalty, but I didn't think it was dirty.
Well, for more on what the penalty spells and what the aftermath equates to, let's check in with Taylor Davis.
Well, guys, quite an exciting end to that one. I've been running all around during halftime trying to get quotes from both coaches. Dan Mullen, of course, animated. He said he heard that there had been a, quote, cheap shot on his quarterback, Kyle Trask. So he went out onto the field to look into it. He said from there, mayhem broke out. He was just trying to get his guys off the field. He said, we have far too much to be playing for, to be partaking in situations like that. Coach Drinkwitz echoed that. He said, it's very ugly how it ended. That's never how this should be handled. As far as on the field play, though, both coaches feel like there are substantial adjustments that could be made in this second half. For Florida, Dan Mullen wants to see more red zone touchdowns. He said our defense needs to continue to make stops, make it difficult for this Missouri team, and Drinkwitz wants to see his wide receivers clean up the drops and stop giving away opportunities.
Taylor, great stuff on both ends. Having Taylor Davis work a little overtime right before the end of the first half, trying to get you up to speed on everything that just happened, and we'll tell you who the ejections are again in just a moment as Kyle Pitts racks up another reception. That's his 4th of the night. We'll take a look at our Zaxby's first half stats. And I think the thing that stands out to me, Hud, is basically we talked so much about Florida's inability to get off the field on 3rd down. Well, they held Missouri to 1 for 8.
Yeah, it's really been an atrocious showing on 3rd down for both teams. More surprising for offensively for the Gators. They've been really good, but outside of the pick 6 for the Missouri Tigers, they haven't been much for them at all.
Pierce stacked up near the line of scrimmage. Now we have 3 ejections to tell you about, and 2 of them are starters. Trey Williams, a starting defensive lineman, basically the best pass rusher for Mizzou. Zachary Carter, defensive lineman for Florida. Antoine Powell is a reserve linebacker, but Williams and Carter certainly will be missed, not only for the rest of this game, but who knows what the future holds. Look at Kyle Trask showing a little bit of speed into plus territory and inside the 40-yard line.
This is a part of the Florida offense. If they want to take that next step offensively, it's getting the run game involved with the quarterback. Quarterback power here. Great kick-out block by the running back. Guard wraps around and go, big boy. 240 pounds with a knee brace on. He'll take it.
You know, those are the kind of play calls you saw Dan Mullen use with guys like Dak Prescott at Mississippi State. Of course, Felipe Franks here at Florida, but you don't see a whole lot of that with Kyle Trask. Out of the shotgun here, Trask on 1st and 10. They'll go back to the ground. And diving ahead for about 5 is Pierce. Gillespie tripped him up, the senior out of Ocala, Florida.
This feels like a huge moment in the game for this Missouri defense, doesn't it? I mean, not only did you just lose your best pass rusher in Trey Williams, but all the momentum late in the first half was stolen by Florida. They got a couple quick touchdowns, and it really feels like they got to find a way to force Florida to kick a field goal. They've been really good at, as Florida's gotten down to the red zone, Missouri's defense has been stiff.
And you mentioned it was Williams on the ejection. I'm glad you cleaned that up. It was Jeffcoat on the hit. And that is the play that did not draw a penalty, believe it or not. And that is the play, of course, that got everybody riled up near the end of the half.
Yeah, and I think, you know, Coach Mullen, I don't want to speak for himself, but it made it worse by him going out there, right? Because as an offensive lineman, I've been there. Like, you're going to protect your quarterback, right? And so it's one thing for your offensive line, but when your coach then goes out there and gets involved and then he's talking trash, then it kind of escalates things and it pours really gasoline on the fire.
Well, here's another one of those third downs, which has stymied both offenses tonight. A 3rd and 3 for Florida. And again, the Gators do not have their starting kicker, Evan McPherson. He's out for tonight's game. Trask rolling out. Everybody covered, and he'll have to just absorb another hit at about the 31-yard line. Nick Bolton, who continues his great performance this year, fresh off an SEC Defensive Player of the Week performance.
So they're right there on the threshold of really not having McPherson. This would usually be a kick for him that Dan Mullen would say, yeah, we're taking it, go. We're kicking a field goal, 100% confidence. But without him here on 4th and 1, this is 100% the right decision to go for it. And really that decision set up by Kyle Trask deciding to tuck it and pick up a few more yards instead of throwing the ball away.
Pierce the lone back. And instead it's going to be Trask. And look at Kyle Trask, fleet of foot. Who is this guy? Kyle Trask came into this game with just 28 rushing yards on the season.
And check out the Damian Pierce right here, the block right there, going down low on Trajan Jeffcoat. That's the second big kick-out block that he's had on the quarterback power read that's led to a gash for Kyle Trask.
Tony trying to get to the edge. Foot race, 10, 5, tight ropes the sideline. Touchdown! The hat trick for Kadarius Toney.
Kadarius Toney touch chart. Get it to him as much as you can. Speed sweep. This time they get a hat on a hat. They block Nick Bolton. Great perimeter blocking again by Pierce. Does he step out?
Wow.
Looks like he tiptoes right there on the sideline and gets in for his 3rd touchdown. Question is, did that right foot? I don't think it did, Mike. I think he kept the right and left foot in.
I think he somehow
half football player, half ballerina.
Yeah, I don't know. That was a move that a ballerina would be proud of. And this is a game Kadarius Toney has been proud of. 3 touchdowns for the senior out of Mobile, Alabama. Simply very few players that can make people miss in the open field the way that man Kadarius Toney does for the Florida Gators. Hut. I mean, he's a special player to watch.
He is slippery. He is hard to tackle. I mean, and you can utilize him in the slot. You can utilize him on special teams. I mean, you can see right there for the first 3 games of the year, he was already playing really well, and he's almost eclipsed his season total of touchdowns just tonight. Dan Mullen has found a trinket in Kadarius Toney that I think he's going to be pretty excited finding ways to use throughout the rest of the season.
And 4 touchdowns coming into tonight's game. 3 already so far today as Beatty tiptoes out of bounds at the 27-yard line.
Hey, have you seen Marty?
Well, as the maturation of Connor Bazelak continues throughout his freshman season.
After the play was over, personal foul, number 25 on the receiving team. Penalty is half the distance to the goal. First down.
Well, that won't help matters. But as I was saying, for that young man, Connor Bazelak, who's already had 2 big wins, this is going to be perhaps the biggest task before him in his young career. Down 20 points against the Florida defense that has vastly improved tonight. Can he lead the way?
Well, this is where it gets dangerous. Yes, he can lead the way, and he's now going to be asked to really just carry this team throwing the ball the second half. But this is where it gets dangerous for Todd Grantham's pass rush, because a lot of predictable passing situations, these defensive ends are going to tee off and come after him.
And on the rollout, it's Knox underneath. It'll be 2nd down at about 5, and we've got more news on the aftermath of that melee. Taylor Davis.
Well, guys, Florida defensive back Trey Dean just left the field on crutches. He's been limping around the sideline, seems to be dealing with a lower leg injury. And keep in mind, these defensive backs are already very depleted. They have more out than available. Definitely another hit.
When it rains, it pours for Florida. And again, if you're just joining us, count them, 3 defensive backs, starting defensive backs, unable to play today. They were down to 10 total. That includes walk-ons. And now, bad news for Trey Dean with a lower leg injury. So they are beyond depleted in the secondary. And of course, for the rest of this game, and perhaps then some, they will be without Zachary Carter, who was ejected for the fight right before halftime. On 3rd down, again Missouri stifled by this suffocating Gator defense. Coming in is Kyrie Campbell, and what a welcome sight that is to Gator fans. He has missed the last 3 games. The senior is one of their top defensive tackles.
He's their best leverage guy, and he really completes this defense. Doesn't even get touched there by Spencer at left tackle. And talking to Todd Grantham this week, he was so excited to get Campbell back because he's truly that guy that can soak up double teams. He's 300 pounds right there in Todd Grantham's 3-4 scheme. Allows guys like Ventrell Miller and Bernie to run around free. And it really puts other players back in their normal positions with him back.
Gators will take over at the 40, up by 20.
Right now at Jimmy John's, you can get half off your second sandwich by
Darius Toney show for the Gators.
Yeah, Dan Mullen said he had a touch chart to get it to for Toney, and he's done a good job getting it to him here. A jailbreak screen. Kadarius just does all of the rest. I mean, does all the hard work here. Trask stepping up. Somehow Missouri's defense doesn't cover one of the most dangerous weapons on the team, letting him run wide open down the middle of the field, and then a jet sweep here, a great block by Damian Pierce. Toney does a good job keeping his feet in bounds and gets in for his 3rd touchdown of the night. Dan Mullen is going to get a lot of guys on this offense, Mike, drafted, and Kadarius Toney is one of them.
We talked to offensive coordinator Brian Johnson this week, and I asked him point blank, how many touches do you want Kadarius Toney to have? He said, we'd love to give him at least 10. He's had 6. 3 have gone for touchdowns.
It's a pretty good rate, isn't it?
That's not bad. Gators up by 20 and looking for more. Trask all kinds of time. I mean all day. Now with a little pressure. And almost threw it into the hands of Rakestraw, a freshman defensive back for Mizzou.
Now Rakestraw looks like his wrist or hand may be bothering him. And, you know, this Missouri secondary came in, and they've been playing pretty good defense, but you have to look at who they've played. With all due respect to Kentucky, they went from playing, you know, the worst passing offense in the league last week to this week the best passing offense in the league, and it's been a huge and a hard challenge for them.
Pitts to the top of the formation on 2nd down for Trask. That one was wide of the mark, tried to find Toney, but threw it behind him.
For an offense coming in that, you know, we didn't know what are they going to look like. Are they going to be rusty? You know, they didn't just not practice for 2 weeks. They didn't meet for 2 weeks. I mean, Kyle Trask was literally, to keep his arm loose, was thrown to his girlfriend who's a center fielder on the softball team. I mean, you know, I'm sure she's a great athlete, but she probably can't catch the velocity of the throws that he likes to throw to his normal receivers. But it's amazing. I mean, I think the rust hasn't really stood out all that much.
Another 3rd down. That one might have been just thrown away. Shorter was the closest guy to the football. So maybe what hurt the overall crispness of Kyle Trask actually enhanced the bond between he and his girlfriend. Hey. Some quality time.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't always get that during football season. He was able to do it during the layoff. You know what's interesting about it? 3 weeks off, 2 weeks with no football activity. It seems like it's shown itself, the rust has shown itself on offense. But I think that extra time to figure out what was wrong defensively has actually helped the defense.
I agree with you, and it's come by surprise.
Another good punt off the foot of Jacob Finn. Missouri will set up shop inside their own 20. Gators still up by 20. By Hudson Mason with Taylor Davis on the sideline. Missouri struggling on offense tonight. That Gator defense, which has had 3 weeks to try to correct some issues that plagued them for the first 3 games of the year, has been awfully salty tonight, and it will continue here with a sack. T.J. Slayton, the senior, by way of Fort Lauderdale, Florida.
Well, Florida's defense came into this game, their sack leader only had a sack and a half, and Slayton right there just pushing through a double team, pushing the pocket up. And what that does for a pocket, Mike, when you've got outside guys like Brenton Cox that are getting pressure, the quarterback feels like the only way he has to go is up in the pocket. And so when you've got outside pressure plus pressure coming up within, that is the recipe for a havoc pocket.
I'm not sure what exactly that was, but the entire offensive line for Missouri went down to the ground.
The offense substituted. We did not hold them long enough for the defense to substitute and declare their personnel. We will replay the down, 2nd down.
And that is something that was modified years ago with all of these offenses, no huddle tempo to make it a little bit more manageable. They've tried to give defenses a chance to sub at least when the offense makes a sub. Throw out in the flat. Positive yardage for Roundtree. It's Burney on the stop for Florida. This Missouri offense has really struggled tonight. Basilak 12 for 21, 83 yards thus far. Roundtree, who was coming off a career game last week, 10 carries, 24 yards. They have just not been able to get into much of a rhythm tonight. And again, the only points came on a pick 6 by the defense.
Not at all. And then you get into this, third and Grantham is what I call it, where it's miserable for a quarterback to live because it's so hard to figure out where he's bringing pressure from.
Missouri just 1 for 9 on 3rd down. Basilak again, heavy pressure, and goes down for another sack. Jeremiah Moon.
It's been inside pressure and it's been outside pressure from this front 7 for Florida all night. But this time you can see Moon at the top of your screen. He's just kind of spying Basilak. And Connor tries to step up in the pocket and he's just not athletic enough to run away from a Jeremiah Moon, 6'5", 250. This is starting to be reminiscent and look like the Todd Grantham defenses of the past. I mean, people forget here, in Florida he's caught a lot of heat, and I think to an extent undeservingly so, but he didn't forget to coach football overnight. He's a guy who had a top 10 defense last year at Florida and a top 10 defense when he was at Mississippi State.
Yeah, 7th nationally last year, averaging just 15.5 points against. They had 3 shutouts last year, the Gator defense did. That's the most by a Florida D since 1988. So I'm with you. And of course, when you were at Georgia, Todd Grantham was the defensive coordinator. You're more than familiar with Todd Grantham. I liked his overall spirit on the call that we had with him this week. I mean, he wasn't down at all, and he knew he was going to be shorthanded. He knew he's been heavily criticized throughout the week, but he still felt awfully good about this unit that he has.
His philosophy hasn't changed. He didn't change it. They just got a little bit more healthy, and they're getting better in one-on-one pass rushing situations.
Oh, my goodness. Kadarius Toney, this is not even fair. I mean, it's like playing with Bo Jackson on Super Tecmo Bowl. It's just the cuts. And the reversing field is unbelievable.
It's like when we did have the NCAA video game and you would create a player. The real day version would be Kadarius Toney. I mean, his athleticism is a 99. His juke is a 99. His speed is a 99. You can't get playmakers the ball enough, and he is one of the most premier playmakers in the SEC.
It looked like a loss and then turned out to be a gain of 9. Back to the ground, Naquan Wright. And Wright finding some extra yardage past the 35. You start to wonder now, does the Missouri defense become a little bit fatigued?
Yeah, and I think that's actually what's happened to Florida's defense so much this year is there really is something when your your offense is playing really well. Obviously for Missouri, that's not the case, but your defense spends a lot of time on the field and you're snapping the ball a lot. I mean, Dan Mullen said we got to get our snap count up from about the 60s into the 70s and 80s to wear out opposing defenses.
Again, Missouri playing shorthanded. Trey Williams, starting defensive end, got ejected with that melee at the end of the half.
I mean, Mike, we've gone through really 2 quarters without talking about Kyle Pitts. And Florida's chugging right along with 27 points. I mean, that's how scary the potential is for this offense, that one of the best, most athletic pass catchers in the country has been pretty quiet tonight, and Florida still put up 27 points.
Yeah. He's been battling a foot injury. Pitts has. He's pretty quiet in the second half of that Texas A&M game. The Florida offense speaks for itself. I mean, there's so many weapons. One of the most explosive offenses in the country. I think what everybody wants to see, and Gator Nation looking ahead of that big Georgia game coming up, is the defense going to be able to push its weight. And fumble. Forced fumble by Martez Manuel. Looks like Florida got it back. It's one thing that would get Missouri back in this game as a turnover.
That's the one thing that'll keep the freshman quarterback Anthony Richardson on the sideline. He's kind of replaced Emory Jones, as Emory Jones is banged up as the quarterback run package, and he's going to learn quickly. When you get bodies around, you put 2 hands, take that offhand and put it over the football, carrying it loosely like a loaf of bread. And Missouri, Martez Manuel gets in there and ripped it out. Luckily, this guy fell on the ball.
I'm sure a lot of Gator fans are wondering why Anthony Richardson over Emory Jones, and what we were told by Dan Mullen during the week. We were told Emory would be the number 3 guy. They wanted to keep him safe, is the way Dan Mullen put it. Emory Jones, who factored into the offense last year and now is a sophomore, is a guy still listed technically number 2 on the depth chart. As you see, the chains spell first down for the Gators.
Well, and I was excited to see this year an element of Dan Mullen's offense, the 2-quarterback system. And I'm not saying that Kyle Trask and Emory Jones are Tim Tebow and Chris Leak. What I am saying is that no coach in the country offensively knows how to use 2 different quarterbacks with 2 different skill sets better than Dan Mullen. And obviously we haven't seen a lot of that because Emory Jones has been banged up. But he's going to get healthy, and I absolutely think he's going to be used by Dan Mullen late in the season.
Dan Mullen has established himself as one of the best play callers in this league for a while now. What he did at Mississippi State, 21 victories in his first 2 years here in Gainesville. Trask looking, and goes underneath. There's Kyle Pitts, and Pitts will have a first down. Kyle Pitts with his 4th reception of the night.
Rather quiet night for Kyle Pitts, but this time it's just a simple drag route, and Missouri can't communicate if a safety or a linebacker's on him, and this is really where, you know, Missouri defensively feels like they're kind of on the brink of folding. Florida's just imposing their will.
Stumbling forward is right for a gain of about a yard. This is the double whammy for Mizzou. I mean, you would assume Florida's going to get points here, whether it's 3 or 7, and they're running time off the clock and just kind of wearing down this Missouri defense. It feels like they've been on the field almost the entire 3rd quarter. Gators going heavy. Little end around. Getting to the edge, getting to the 5, diving for the pylon, and they'll call him out of bounds at the 1. Naquan Wright flirted with a touchdown. Martez Manuel from Missouri saved a touchdown.
Naquan Wright, the redshirt freshman out of the Miami area, 3rd running back to play tonight. And yeah, you'll see his left foot step out there right at the 2-yard line, but he provides a nice piece of depth at the running back position behind Malik Davis and Damian Pierce. And he was a highly touted kid coming out of the Miami area. And, you know, his really, it's what he brings to the table that's a little different than Pierce and Davis. He can really do both. And he's getting a little bit more and more as he shows his trust and shows his dependability, get more and more reps.
1st and goal from the 1. Wright Trying to find a crease on the left side, can't do it. Stacked up by that Missouri front. Good defense there. With some help from Nick Bolton and Tyree Gillespie.
Yeah, Nick Bolton, he's one of the best overall defensive players. Watch him just see it and react it and pull the trigger. I mean, what he doesn't bring Mike to the table in terms of size, I mean, he makes up for in heart and determination. And I think size at the middle linebacker position is overrated. It used to be, oh, you got to be 6'4", 230. You know, think of the Urlachers and think of those guys. Now, it doesn't matter how tall you are. Can you run sideline to sideline, or do you have speed? That's what you're looking for in a middle linebacker in modern college football.
Play action, and there is another touchdown pass. This time it goes to Justin Shorter, sophomore wideout from Monmouth, New Jersey.
Well, this is a bust on the Missouri defense. A pretty easy play that should have been communicated and passed off in man coverage, and flash fake the backfield to the back, and it's really a pick play where the outside receiver kind of runs in and just gets in the way. Can't say pick in college football, but get in the way route by the outside receiver, and it's being more and more used in the red zone when teams play man coverage.
First touchdown reception of the year for Shorter. Third TD pass of the game for Kyle Trask, who now has 17 on the year. 17 touchdown passes in the first 4 games, and that actually ties an SEC record.
And what's more impressive is he took 2 weeks off from playing, and as of today, he still led the SEC in touchdown passes.
Yes,
I mean, is that a baller move or what?
That's a baller move.
Hey, I'm going to take 2 weeks off, and when I come back, I'm still going to be leading the conference in touchdown passes.
Just his 14th career start, as you mentioned. I mean, he's a senior, but again, he's spent much of his time as a backup. And now all of a sudden you're looking at a guy that no question is going to get NFL looks. And he's got the size, he's got the accuracy.
And he's got so much room for development. I mean, that's the good scary part, is he's only in his 14th career start. I mean, you look at the kid, and you know, most NFL general managers have a rule of thumb where they won't draft a guy unless he has a minimum of about 24 to 25 starts, and that's 2 years worth of tape. Well, he's going to defy that rule, much like Joe Burrow did, because of what he shows you on the field, his physical attributes, his mental makeup, and what Dan Mullen has done for his career is nothing shy of remarkable.
Missouri will have it at the 25. Kyle Trask, who was a backup in high school to De'Aaron King, a backup when he got to Gainesville to Felipe Franks. You see the numbers that he's put up this year compared to a couple of Gator greats, Rex Grossman, Tim Tebow. I got to tell you, the guy he reminds me of more so than those two, just from a overall style and skill set standpoint, is Danny Werfel. And while Danny Werfel didn't have a great NFL career, if you watch Danny Werfel throw the ball for the Gators from about 93 through 96, that Heisman Trophy year, national championship year, Danny was not fleet of foot. And I wouldn't say that Danny had the strongest arm in the world, but I haven't seen many more accurate guys. You want to talk about a guy who would drop it in the bucket just about every time. That was Danny Werfel, and so far in that young man's career, he's been extremely accurate.
That's the end of the third quarter.
A third quarter dominated by the Gators. The final 15 from Gainesville coming your way.
When I wake up in the morning, love, and the sunlight hurts my eyes, then I look at you. Good morning. And I know.
What has become tradition in Gainesville at the end of the third quarter, not only to play We Are the Boys from Old Florida, but a little Tom Petty, I Won't Back Down. Tom Petty, a Gainesville native. A lot of people were wondering if this Gator defense would back down after being the source of a lot of criticism over the last 3 weeks. They have absolutely stifled this Missouri offense. The 7 points you see on the scoreboard for Missouri came via a pick-6 back in the first half. Offensively, no points and 122 total yards, 1 for 10 on third down. So give credit where it's due. This Gator defense has bounced back in a big way tonight.
Yeah, the game really took a turn for the bad for Missouri right there at the end of the second quarter. 4 minutes left, the missed fumble between Beatty and Bazelak.
And again, not a whole lot of running room for Missouri on the ground, whether it's Beatty or Roundtree. You can't find the crease.
No, that's been the biggest difference is Florida's run game tonight compared to the first 3 weeks. It's Cox, it's Slayton, it's the emergence of Campbell and the welcoming back of Campbell.
Face mask on the defense. Number 1, 15-yard penalty from the previous spot. Automatic first down.
Well, that'll help Florida. Brenton Cox whistled for a face mask penalty and give Missouri a rare first down in the second half.
I mean, the number one way to protect a young secondary is to get a pass rush and to also have a disruptive front seven in the run game. And there hasn't been really a lot of one-on-one opportunities that this young secondary has been forced in, because this front seven for Florida has been super disruptive on first down in the run game and third down in the passing game.
Hazelback, Coxon fires deep down the sideline. Great defensive play. The last second, knocking it away. That is one of the backups in the secondary, and there have been several today. That's Tyler Waxman.
Tell me if you expected Tyler Waxman to be playing tonight, but
he was not on my 3 deep.
He's going up against Chisholm right there. He's an established starter for Missouri, and he's showing his ground. I mean, he's showing, you know, there weren't a lot of guys expected to get reps this week that are playing tonight, but reps are the ultimate teacher.
Little flare and out of the outstretched hands of Larry Roundtree. You know, let's go back to the feeling a lot of people had about this game. There were a number of people picking Missouri in an upset. I know our own Desmond Howard on Game Day Today had it as his super dog. And that was before everybody found out the news that we found out today, and that was the fact that Florida be without 3 of its starting players in the secondary. No one expected this. A Missouri offense that has been clicking, and they have been completely shut down tonight. Underneath, complete, and first down yardage. First time we've called Toski Dove's name tonight. His 9th reception of the year. They've got high hopes for Dove, a sophomore from Denton, Texas.
And I said that Connor Bazelak at the beginning of the game had to play smart. I think he's played smart. He just, unfortunately, the offense had some big drops, and they had a big drop in the first half, and they got so far behind that the game became disproportionate.
Well, one thing we were told about Missouri, too, they were going to have some shakeups in the offensive line. They're missing their normal starting right tackle. They've got Javon Foster and Larry Borum's place. They've had to shuffle some guys around, and that was already an area that Coach Eli Drinkwitz thought, while they have exceeded expectations, it was a bit of a concern coming into this year. And quite frankly, they've gotten beaten on the line of scrimmage tonight. With time, and misses that one complete, and out to the 20-yard line. Nico Hay, the tight end, sophomore from St. Louis, had a big game against LSU.
Kind of emerged as the pass-catching tight end for this Missouri offense. Daniel Parker, who has been that guy, didn't even make the trip down here to the swamp. And, you know, Nico Hay's been really more of a blocking tight end, but outside of that play, Mike, there hasn't been a lot of Missouri receivers just running wide open tonight.
Roundtree, he's been kept in check, bottled up after a modest game. Jeremiah Moon gets his hands on him.
That's the other thing this Florida defense did a great job of. They never really allowed Larry Roundtree to get into a rhythm.
Yeah.
I mean, you saw it last week, 37 carries against Kentucky, and he said the next week, or he said the next morning, I could have played another quarter.
Right.
And those are the type of running backs where when they get into the 15, 18, 20 carry range, they get more dangerous as the game goes on. Florida did a really good job with their game plan coming in to shut that down quickly.
Ran the ball 62 times against Kentucky They've got 32 rushing yards before that scamper by Roundtree, or Beatty, I should say.
I think the greatest challenge for Florida's defense moving forward, obviously they got the cocktail party next week against Georgia, who's going to run the football. I mean, and they're not going to hide it or be shy about it, is, you know, protecting your young guys in the secondary and being able to just stop the run. That's been the biggest surprise to me. Getting Kyrie Campbell back has really helped this front seven.
Is Elijah Young, the true freshman, on that last carry, his first action of the game. Now, Missouri's problem spot all night long. 2 for 11 on third down, another third down here. On play action, Bazelak, knocked away. Good coverage on the play, intended for Dove. The pass was knocked away. Brent Cox got good pressure on the quarterback, and Elam on the coverage for the Gators.
Brent Cox has had a heck of a night, and they've been needing him to emerge as a 3-down guy. Not a guy who, you know, takes plays off on first down when teams are going to run the football. He stayed home on a lot of these naked boots tonight and gotten his hand up and really forced a lot of tough throws on the quarterback.
Are you surprised by the decision here? 4th and a yard, going for the field goal?
24 compared to 21. Yeah.
Certainly caught off guard by that move. But Missouri's offense does produce its first points of the night. Third scored a 10-hour score.
You know what beats next day shipping? Getting it the same day. So shop Ace.
3 turnovers. Christian Tutt takes that the other way. Auburn destroys LSU 48-11.
Dari, thank you much. It is so Gus Malzahn and Auburn, after everybody's down on Auburn, to go ahead when everybody was so high on LSU. Tigers to blow out LSU at Jordan-Hare Stadium today. I mean, that is a microcosm of what we've seen now for a number of years on the Plains.
I think Auburn fans are just happy it didn't come down to a last game decision by the refs again.
Monday at 7 Eastern Time, we'll have Thinking Out Loud with Alyssa Lang, Spencer Hall, Richard Johnson, and Brandon Boykin. They'll break down the weekend on the gridiron, talk about the hottest topics for the coming week. That's right here on the SEC Network with Taylor Davis and Hudson Mason. Mike Morgan here at the Swamp. Temperatures have cooled off a little bit. Florida offense has heated up. Kind of a quiet first half. And Kyle Trask and company really dominated this game from late second quarter on. Darius Toney with 3 touchdowns, and Trask with 3 touchdown passes in this game. We had some fireworks at the end of the half, which no doubt everybody will be waiting to find out what that'll mean for the following week. I tell you what, who was perhaps the biggest benefactor of that whole melee was Georgia.
Yeah.
Because Georgia plays Florida next week. Missouri has a bye, and guess who they play in 2 weeks?
Yeah.
Georgia.
Yeah.
So whatever suspensions carry forward, they'll be out against Georgia for both of these teams.
And it's so unfortunate for Florida because I'm sure the laundry list of names is going to grow as we get into tomorrow and the SEC office in Birmingham reviews the tape. And what you saw tonight and what I saw tonight is a Florida team that is by far and away, from what I saw tonight, the #1 team in the East to contend with Alabama. I mean, if the defense is making strides like they have over the past 3 weeks, like they've shown tonight, I mean, this is a dangerous team, and they're a more dangerous team potentially than Georgia. But then you take into consideration the amount of bodies that are going to be out next week, potentially in the cocktail party. It hurts Florida.
We don't know how many of those bodies will be back in that secondary against Georgia.
The good thing is you're not going up against some high-powered passing offense for the Dogs. I mean, Georgia is what they are right now. They're a really good team with a limited passing offense that can, struggles to push the ball down the field vertically. So I think that bodes well for some of the young guys that are playing in this secondary for the Gators.
One thing that has not been a surprise this year is the 2 most dominating teams in the East, as expected, have been Florida and Georgia, and I don't think that's going to change anytime soon. It'll be a big one next week in Jacksonville. regardless what happens here in the final 8 minutes plus in Gainesville, I think Missouri fans are still very optimistic about the future. They feel like they've got their guy in Eli Drinkwitz. They've got their quarterback in Bazelak. They've got some players on defense to build around. And I just sense a little bit of a buzz back in Como that maybe hadn't been there the last couple of years. Trask launching, completes it at the 35, and banged down is Jacob Copeland after a big one.
Well, good to see Jacob Copeland, who's really been the third featured receiver in this offense, get involved tonight. And it's really the second big bust in the secondary for Missouri. The corner and the safety just don't pass it off and communicate it, and that's very uncharacteristic of Tyree Gillespie back there for Missouri in the secondary, a guy who's played a lot of snaps. That's kind of been the story of the night defensively for the Tigers.
31 yards on that hookup, and Kyle Trask is now over 300 for the game. Championship between Florida and Georgia taking part in Jacksonville next week. Scoring top two teams in the SEC. Yards per play, again, second and second. The difference, of course, going into this game would have been the defensive side, where Florida has really struggled, and Georgia, despite the game against Alabama, overall, there's no question, one of the top defenses in the country. Trying to take the lid off here with a deep ball, and it's dropped. Jarvis Ware was on the coverage penalty flag on the play. That was Grimes, the intended receiver. Gators, by the way, have lost 3 straight to Georgia. Got to go back to 2016.
Defense, number 8, 15-yard penalty from the previous spot. Automatic first down.
Flag is on Jarvis Ware.
Well, and this PI is really available and thrown because of a very catchable ball by the quarterback. And man, I tell you what, Mike, some of these PI calls on both sides tonight, I haven't seen eye to eye with, and I'm not for sure if I saw eye to eye on that one either. But you know, it just proves the point that if you're a quarterback, you know, an underthrow is never the worst thing, because you can either complete it, incomplete it, or the other thing is you can get a PI call.
Well, especially if the DB never turns his head. Right. You see that so much in today's college football. Trask, a little in cut, and finding his way to the end zone. It's a touchdown for Grimes. Simple route, but the yards after catch continues to be lethal for the Gators tonight.
Well, that's where this offense really thrives. This wide receiver group for the Gators, they average the most yards after contact of throws that are 10 yards or less, and that's exactly what that one was right there for Trayvon Grimes. That gets him his second touchdown catch of the season.
And that is a new SEC record. Kyle Trask with his 4th touchdown pass of the night. That makes it 18 in the first 4 games. Gator offense continues to click. Pick your poison. Tony, Grimes, Kyle Trask, Kyle Pitts. A whole lot of weaponry for Dan Mullen and the Gators. .41 points on 496 yards of offense for the Gators tonight. That's the most surrendered by the Mizzou defense all year long, and there's still 7 minutes and 50 seconds remaining. Kyle Trask tied in the SEC record books for the most touchdown passes through 4 games. 4 more in this ball game. The Gators offense looked a little rusty after the long layoff in the first quarter, but then got hot and continued to flourish here in the second half. Speaking of flourishing, that's what Marty Smith and Ryan McGee do each and every week, and they have fun doing it. Talking everything SEC Wednesdays at 7 Eastern right here on the SEC Network and the ESPN app. A happy Halloween to everybody out there. We are coming to you from the swamp. Yeah, there's some good-looking costumes with masks, of course. Mike Morgan, Hudson Mason, Taylor Davis. There's a lot of questions about how Florida would look after a 3-week layoff, which included 13 days without any football activity, which is unheard of in any level of football for that matter. But whatever Russ showed early on in this game offensively was quickly taken off. Got some WD-40 down there and got the offense cranked up again. I think the bigger story is what the defense has been able to do against a Missouri offense that came in clicking on all cylinders.
There's no doubt about it. I mean, when you talk about what makes a good defense, it's havoc. You know, and havoc is sacks, it's tackles for loss, it's turnovers. You know, and the Gators had to have had most of those tonight. I think by far and away the most impressive thing that the Gators showed tonight is they showed a little bit more simplicity. They weren't so exotic, and I think that's where Todd Grantham knows his defense back. He's peeled back a little bit and said, we're just going to line up and try to execute what we know.
Yeah, not a ton of blitzing, which everybody just assumes. I thought it was funny in our conversation with Coach Grantham this week. I got tired of hearing how often they got burnt on the blitz against Texas A&M. That was not the main issue. They got mauled on the line of scrimmage. A&M ran all over them. They've got a great tandem of backs over there in College Station. And quite frankly, they got beaten on some one-on-one matchups in the secondary, but I don't think it was as much schematic as it was overall execution. And he stressed to us, he said, we've got to be more physical. We have not been physical enough through the first few ball games. I don't think that's been lacking tonight.
No, it hasn't. And I think getting a couple key pieces back, Kyrie Campbell was a huge get back. I think Ventrell Miller, you know, James Houston, Amari Burney, don't get talked a lot about in this defense, but they know the defense. They can communicate it. They're solid pieces. But there's no doubt about it. Like, Todd Grantham's defense is the best when he has a premier pass rusher that can get after the quarterback.
Go empty. Complete the pass to Barrett Bannister, who we haven't talked a whole lot about. That's his 8th catch of the year, the junior from Fayetteville High School in Arkansas. And of course, there's some ties to Arkansas with Coach Eli Drinkwitz. See the Florida defense and what they've been able to do tonight. It is a far cry from what it looked like in the first 3 ball games. Of course, the million-dollar question will be, how will it look a week from tonight in Jacksonville?
I thought tonight was going, and it didn't turn out this way, but I thought the run game of Missouri was going to be a nice little sample size and a tease for what they would, the Florida defense would see next week against Georgia. Obviously, Georgia's run game is better than this, but how teams want to win and stylistically how they approach winning games, Missouri very similar to Georgia.
Chisholm on the reception, and he paid for it right afterwards.
The other thing, Mike, that people don't take into consideration, like if you turn on the Ole Miss tape for Florida, what you don't realize in a lot of these shootouts where teams are throwing it late is Florida's just rushing 3, right? And they're just trying not to give up the big touchdown. So there's a lot of garbage statistics thrown on to Todd Grantham's defense when you're in shootout games that aren't necessarily, and they don't necessarily tell the whole story.
Illegal formation on the offense. 5 players in the backfield. 5-yard penalty. Replay, first down.
But uncharacteristically of Todd Grantham's defense, they've always been good at sacks and turnovers. And that's where, when I turned on the tape and I watched the first 3 games, they weren't getting a whole lot of sacks, only 8 sacks collectively coming into tonight. And turnover margin, they ranked 71st in the country.
Right.
That's really where Todd Grantham was trying to hone in on and get that fixed.
Sacks, turnovers, and as he told us this week, he likes to have film of his guys hitting the quarterback so that the future opponents, they have to look at that, and that's in their head. And for a while there, they weren't getting a whole lot of hits on the quarterback. Certainly didn't get enough on Kellen Mond 3 weeks ago in the loss to Texas A&M. not the Gator defense that we've been accustomed to seeing the last couple of years here in Gainesville. Hit from the backside was Bazelak, fires one incomplete. You know, for all the talk about 2020 being the year of unpredictability, I still feel like we're looking at the same thing in the SEC as we all thought. Alabama's the team to beat in the West. They already defeated A&M. And the East is going to come down to Florida, Georgia. That wasn't unpredictable at all.
No, it's amazing how that's unfolded. Georgia looked really good early on. Florida didn't look so good, but the East is going to run through the cocktail party again.
Threading the needle on 3rd and 13. That's Bazelak to Kiki Chisholm.
And it's interesting how both teams seem to be kind of, in some parts and facets, trending in a different direction. Like, we know who Georgia is. There's really no surprises with how they're going to try to beat you.
Right.
Run the ball, play really good defense. But does Georgia have offensively a third gear that can get above 25, 28 points if they have to get into a shootout?
Second effort, Roundtree, who's got a nose for the end zone, and he finds it here. Larry Roundtree with his 4th touchdown scamper of the season.
They've tried to stay patient with him all night and had to get out of it early on because they got so far behind. But the balance, the vision, and he really has every characteristic. You talk about Mike early in the game, how he finishes every run falling forward. That's a prime example of that. You just don't find those characteristics all the time in a back who's 210, 215 pounds. Kid's got a bright future at the next level.
2-star recruit who told us he only had one official visit coming out of high school. That was with Missouri. He signed with Mizzou and has had a prolific career with the Tigers.
Circle in the block, 2 times, you know how we rock. You know who we knocked on, you know who we shot. You know how we come for nothing I got. Just wanna have
Right now at Jimmy John's, you can get half off your second sandwich by using promo code SAVEON2.
45 yards, 4 touchdowns, only 1 interception. Mike, he now has had at least 4 touchdown passes in every single game he's played this year. He's well on his way to legitimately being a contender for the Heisman Trophy.
No question about that, as we say hello to Taylor Davis.
Yeah, guys, we've spoken tonight about Kyle Trask's unconventional path to this point, and I spoke with him about it this week, and he said he actually thinks that has contributed to his success in this role here at Florida. He said, look, I had to learn patience. I had to learn what it meant to prepare for your opportunity, even when you don't know it's going to come. I asked him what kind of legacy he wants to leave as a Florida quarterback. He said a game changer and a great leader. Guys, he's on pace to do just that.
No question about it. And a guy who continues to put his name in the record books. So when you put your name in the record books amongst Florida quarterbacks, that's some pretty prestigious company. Just if you go back from Steve Spurrier's first year in 1990, from Shane Matthews to Danny Werfel and Rex Grossman. And the list goes on and on. Tim Tebow, of course. And Kyle Trask. You never know when opportunity is going to knock. I mean, he easily could have gone his entire high school and collegiate career without ever starting.
Yeah, the story about how a Florida assistant coach, Randy Shannon, linebacker coach at the time, went to Manville High School, went to his high school in Texas, wasn't even looking for him.
Right.
He was looking at recruiting another player. Manville High School coach said, hey, why don't you take a peek at this quarterback I got? He's been overlooked his whole life, and I agree with you. Like, you don't have the success that you have tonight offensively unless you have a guy like Kyle Trask who gives Dan Mullen a peace of mind coming off of a 3-week hiatus. He's veteran, he's seasoned, and he's come off the bench when he hasn't played a lot before in his career.
Big first down run by Iverson Clement. As all the backups in now, including Emory Jones at quarterback. That high school coach you speak of, by the way, is Kirk Martin, who told Randy Shannon at the time, Coach, I've got this young man that you might need to take a look at.
Yeah, just a little bit of a look.
And that's how it happened. That's how he wound up from a backup in high school to a guy on the Florida roster not expected to play a whole lot, and now a guy who's putting up record numbers. Florida just going to keep it on the ground here and continue to run clock. Been an interesting day in the SEC overall. I think the eye-popping score certainly has to be what Auburn was able to do at LSU. I don't think many people saw that score coming. Ole Miss finally gets back in the win column, blowing out Vanderbilt. Looks like Texas A&M is on its way to another win. Some people are trying to talk about the Aggies maybe having the old outside shot getting into playoff. There's a tough snap. Jones can't handle it, and a turnover to Missouri. Pounced on by Cannon York. So in a game that has been nearly mistake-free for Florida, especially in the second half, that one will go on the wrong side of the ledger.
High snap there to Emory Jones, and that'll drive Dan Mullen nuts, as there are always coaches who, in this day and age where you get hired and fired more so because of statistics, and I say that, you know, he's a head coach, he's not going anywhere, he's not looking for the next job, but most people look at statistics when they're looking to hire, you know, the next offensive coordinator. Those guys can't stand at the end of the game losing any yardage or turning the ball over late.
Missouri certainly not going to pass up an opportunity to try and get one more score in before the clock reaches 000. Texas A&M has defeated Arkansas. Final score there, 42-31. So Arkansas, which has been a great story under first-year head coach Sam Pittman, they fall. And you know, the Aggies probably won't be in Atlanta. It wouldn't be the first time that a team doesn't get to the SEC championship game and still finds a path to the playoff.
Well, they started off slow, clearly, that Vanderbilt game, but the way they've rebounded since the Florida win has been impressive. You could literally see the weight come off Jimbo Fisher's back after he beat Florida. That was his first win versus an AP top 5 team since he's been at Texas A&M.
Bazelak loses the handle and scooped up by the Gators. Jalen Lee forcing the fumble. And Wilcoxon on the recovery.
Again, it's edge pressure for the Gators. Connor Bazelak steps up, and defensive lineman interior for Florida just puts his big paw right on the ball.
That was just a sneaky poke of the ball by Jalen Lee, who was engaged in a block, but still managed to knock it loose. And the Gators will be able to run the clock out here with a knee and improve to 3-1 on the year. Florida came in dropping 4 out of the last 7 to Mizzou. Nobody thought this game would be easy. It did not start off well for the Gators. A pick 6, a couple of drives that stalled that could have ended in touchdowns, ended in field goals, but when they needed to turn it on, the combination of Kyle Trask, Kyle Pitts, and Kadarius Toney. 3 touchdowns for Toney, 4 for Trask, and Dan Mullen and company will gladly take home a win and get ready for what becomes one of the biggest games of the year in the Southeastern Conference. Florida, Georgia, next Saturday in Jacksonville.
The East runs through the cocktail party yet again, my friend.
Both head coaches very spirited at halftime, and no doubt there'll be some more fallout from what happened with a fight at the end of the first half. And we'll see what that'll spell in terms of who is going to be suspended for the game next week against Georgia.
Yeah, you thought this Todd Grantham defense and just team in general, but really on the defense side of the ball was thin tonight. It could get even thinner after the commissioner's office or the league office in Birmingham gets their eyeballs on this tape. So be interesting to see what the depth chart looks like for Florida come Monday, Tuesday, going into the cocktail party. And remember, Tuesday is this schedule's been disrupted this week as the NCAA stepped in and required and mandated that all teams take off Tuesday to vote. So, Florida's got to get right back at it. They're practicing tomorrow night, and usually Sunday's a day off for them.
Right.
So it's a quick turnaround.
Well, we all wondered how Florida would look. 3 weeks between games, 2 weeks of absolutely no football activity whatsoever. Uncharted territory, to say the least. It looked a little rusty early, but then they seemed to find their game, polished it up well from the second quarter on. 345 yards and 4 touchdown passes for that man, Kyle Trask. The Gators rack up 514 total yards en route to a victory over Mizzou. 41-17, your final score here from the Swamp on a Halloween night with a full moon outside. We hope to hear from Gator head coach Dan Mullen. I know Taylor Davis is eagerly trying to find the head Gator as we speak. Some of your other takeaways from this game overall, Hudson?
Well, I just continue to point to the defensive side of the ball. I'm not surprised at the 41 points that were put up by this offense. I mean, this is a very talented offense. They're deep. They got one of the best quarterbacks and one of the best offensive minds in the country calling plays for them. I'm more shocked about what the defense did and really how I thought Missouri had to come in and kind of control the clock and ball hog the clock. And Florida, by really tackles for loss, havoc rate, they really never allowed Connor Bazelak to just get comfortable in the pocket. I mean, he had some drops and some crucial drops. I mean, the shot down the middle of the field in the first half, the drop by Jalen Knox was a huge drop. And then the turnover there when it was 13-7 in the second quarter, and the missed handoff between him and Tyler Beatty. That's when the game really got out of control. But the defense really is the story of the night for the Gators. See Larry Roundtree here. The Gators just nowhere for Roundtree to go all night. A guy who rushed for over 130 yards on 37 carries last week. Trick plays. Missouri tried to dial up some trick plays. It didn't work. I mean, just the sound discipline from the Gators all night. Different guys on the front seven getting involved. Jeremiah Moon. Here is the pivotal point in the game with the fumble between Bazelak and Tyler Beatty, and that was really a credit to Zachary Carter, who kind of split the center and guard and forced Connor Bazelak to try to pull the ball out of the belly of Tyler Beatty late, and that's a no-no for quarterbacks. Eventually, you got to make your decision and live with it, and just a lot to point to and be optimistic about it if you're Todd Grantham. This team, for not playing for 3 weeks, or this defense for not playing for 3 weeks, made a huge stride tonight.
Well, and I tell you, I still believe you're never going to want 3 weeks off, and you're certainly never going to want 2 weeks away from practice. But they needed to clean a lot of things up defensively, and they needed to figure some things out. And I think that extra time off actually, in a weird way, might have been beneficial.
And I think a lot of guys got back to their normal position tonight. I mean, Todd Grantham won't say it because he's a pro's pro, but there were a lot of guys playing out of position. Zachary Carter was kind of kicked down to playing more interior. He's more of an outside guy. Britton Cox has been flipping back and forth from, Buck in the Sam position. It's amazing how having one guy back in Kyrie Campbell really helped.
Now 41-17 again, your final score here from Gainesville. 514 total yards for the Gators, just 248 for Mizzou, and Connor Bazelak, who's been brilliant in the 2 wins against LSU and Kentucky, held to just 208 yards tonight. Standing by with Coach Dan Mullen, here's Taylor Davis.
Well, Coach, the lead up to this game was not exactly normal. Aspects of the game were not exactly normal, but how would you assess your team's return to gameplay?
It was solid. I thought, you look at it offensively, I thought we were a little rusty at times. You look at our red zone offense in the first half, third down conversions, that you just showed a little rust up front. We half our offensive line didn't practice until Wednesday, had a lot of guys out. Defensively, I thought we did a heck of a job. Give up 10 points, really 3. 7 of those and at the very end in cleanup time, and the offense are a pick 6. So the defensive guys really responded. I think, they've been taking some heat from a lot of people. Not from inside our building, but from outside our building. We knew what we could do. We had to clean some things up, and we played really well defensively tonight.
And you told me pregame the limitations that you were dealing with on the defensive side of the ball. So what kind of confidence does it give you to see this response tonight?
Well, it's good, but we gotta build off of this. Hopefully, I would love to see what type of defense we could be if we played with an entire defense. I don't think we've come close to playing with an entire defense in a game yet this year. So I'd love to see what we could be if we got the entire defense out there at one time. But no, I think this will build us some confidence going into next week, coming off of what we had to deal with, and hopefully now we can move forward.
That's a representation of 2020 for sure. Coach, I have to ask you about the way the first half ended. Obviously, emotions were high. What led to that?
Well, I think obviously it's tense. From my understanding, our guys thought they took a late hit at our quarterback. They're going to protect him. You know what I mean? That's their guy. And, I think they were going to protect him. I think both sides were trying to get people off the field, but everybody was a little edgy and probably went a little too far with it. I know we were trying to get our guys off the field in the middle of it all. The coaching staff were trying to get the officials in the middle to get them off. But it is what it is, an emotional game sometimes. I don't condone it. I'm not real pleased about how it all played out, obviously. But you know what? Hey, I think the great thing, if you look at both teams, how they played the second half. You know what I mean? Is hey, at halftime, I think I give Eli a great job, and we got down, and both teams calmed immediately down, go back and play some football, and both teams did that, and that's a real credit to Mizzou and their coaching staff, our coaching staff. Of it wasn't what we want at halftime, but we cleaned it up.
Coach, you told me at halftime this team has a lot to play for. That remains true this week as you prepare for the all-important game against Georgia. What will you take away from this win into this week's preparation? Well, you know what? We're going to take away a win. And we're going to take away that after not practicing for 2 weeks, being really limited to even practice this week, we came out here and we battled our way to a win. And hopefully, that'll get us a little more normalcy this week. I know it's a crazy schedule this week again, but hopefully a little normalcy at some point. Thank you so much, Coach. Congrats. Thank you. Go Gators.
Taylor, great stuff. 41-17, the final score. The Gators defeat Mizzou. Kyle Trask, outstanding tonight with 4 touchdown passes, and Florida improves with the victory. Once again, for Taylor Davis, Hudson Mason, our entire SEC Network crew, Mike Morgan saying good night from Gainesville.